Oh, all right. Are we live? Can you guys hear me? All right. I need to figure out how to get the URL on these other channels. This is like the this is the part where the elevator music is supposed to be playing. Where we're waiting a little bit for the meeting to get started. Oh, all right. There's a lot of people here. Sweet. Okay, let's get started. So I asked you guys on Instagram for some questions. So I saved those questions for today, for right now. Is the audio good? Can you guys hear me? All right. So on Instagram, there were a couple of common themes that came up. So one of the things was essentially COVID-19, obviously. I'm actually making a video on the Med School Insider channel that's going to tell you guys best practices, I think, for students during this time, because a lot of you guys have to stay at home, not going to class. Your Mcat may be delayed. Your studying is totally different because you're not studying with groups now, you're studying solo. So I actually just recorded the audio for the Med School Insider channel, so that'll be out on Saturday. But in terms of, there's a lot of questions about how I am handling COVID-19. So it's important to note that I am immunosuppressed. So I'm on infliximab, which is an anti-TNF medication for people with inflammatory bowel disease and some other conditions as well. So for that reason, I've been taking this more seriously than the average person. So I started isolating myself, doing social distancing early March. So I haven't really left my apartment complex in, I don't know, at least like 10 days. So I do like grocery delivery, or my roommate, actually they went and got groceries today. So they picked up some for me as well. Yeah, so I am taking all the necessary precautions. That being said, I'm noticing a lot for myself that being cooped up at home is like, it's not easy. It's a lot harder than it sounds. You know, I feel that by having more structure today, these days when I'm like isolated, I'm not going to the gym and I'm not meeting up with people in the evening, stuff like that, that having more structure actually helps. So early on, when, before gyms were closed and stuff, this was like early, like first week of March, I would go to the gym. I went to 24-hour fitness, and then there was someone that was coughing even at 6 a.m. I went super early, and I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go there anymore. So I went to my apartment gym. My apartment gym, same thing. I went at 6 a.m. People were still there. So I figured, okay, let me go at another time. So then I started going very late. So I would go to the gym at like 10 or 11 p.m. No one was there. But then the gym got closed. So for a period of time, my whole day was shifted, where I was waking up super late and sleeping super late. And like that just did not bode well for my mental state. I was like not feeling happy. So what I'm doing is getting back down to structure for me. So for me, that means, okay, every night get in bed by like 10, 10:30, sleep by 11, alarm set by, what was it? Today was like 7 a.m. So anyways, that's how I'm handling COVID-19. I'm not eating out. I'm doing a lot of cooking at home too. Well, you guys can hear me, right? Some of these comments are gold. Yo, can you guys hear me? Audio, yes? Okay, perfect. Sweet. All right, thanks, guys. Okay, so that's it for COVID-19. And let's see. Okay, so other questions that came up. Surprisingly, a couple questions about math. I guess a lot of pre-meds are probably taking math around this time. So, okay, for math, what I find most helpful for things like math, like whether that's calculus or trig or algebra or whatever kind of math, is practice problems. So the textbook kind of teaches you the foundations, but you can't really study a textbook if you're doing math or physics, stuff like that, right? So practice problems. And what I found in college is I would put on music, and I have a study playlist, which you can find in the description on Spotify. So I had that kind of music. It's like electronica, like instrumentals, no vocals, and I would just do practice problems. And the time actually flies by. It's actually kind of fun when you get into the flow state of just doing problems, listening to music. And that will, I think, most quickly accelerate your mastery. In terms of effective studying, it comes down to two primary things. So number one is active recall with spaced repetition and practice problems. So practice problems use some of those elements. And if I could recommend just one thing for studying, it would be practice problems. The issue is that we generally don't have enough practice problems, but for math, that should be like your go-to, your foundation. What do I think about a career in airline piloting? I think it sounds awesome. I have some friends who are pilots. Yeah, so the audio, so the Blue Yeti is actually how I record Med School Insiders videos. And then right now, this is my first time doing a live stream. So I have this HDMI cable with this, it's called a Cam Link by Elgato. And there's no audio over that. So normally I would, anyways, I'm glad the audio is working with this now. If any of you guys are pros with like streaming and stuff like that, definitely let me know. Okay, back to some Instagram questions. Who inspires you the most? Lucas Davison for that one. I would say Elon Musk. I know, not a super original answer. I think someone who inspires me isn't necessarily someone I want to imitate, though, because Elon Musk, super huge badass. Oh, let me turn on some lights. Was that better? So Elon Musk, huge badass, but I think his personal life does suffer. So what I really admire about him, what inspires me, is that when he gets into like, when he believes in himself, other people say, "Oh, you can't do this." Like starting SpaceX, oh, that's nonsense. Oh, starting this electric car company, that's nonsense. And then he will just believe in himself and do what seems impossible, and he makes it possible. So I am very much inspired by Elon Musk. There's this great book by Ashley Vance. It's a biography on Elon Musk. I definitely recommend that. All right, some more questions. What do you consider as the standard personal hygiene? I mean, like shower daily, brush your teeth. I don't think I have any like unique insights there. COVID-20, we'll see what happens there. No, so my family is in California. I am currently in Las Vegas, so I'm not spending time with my family right now. I do call my mom every Sunday night. That's a new thing that I'm doing regularly. How much do I bench? Not enough. And this all these gyms being closed isn't helping. How will I celebrate 1 million subscribers on Med School Insiders? I don't know. We still got over 200,000 to go on the Med School Insiders channel, so we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Updates on Memm. Okay, Memm, we're still working on. It's it was slowed down these last couple months for some reasons. But yeah, so we're gonna be working on Memm. What is my ethnicity? Such a common question. Antarctican. Do I race cars? I haven't gone racing in a while, but I'm actually building a sim racing rig. So I'm building a gaming PC, which if you guys saw on Instagram, I messed something up because there's no output. Like the computer turns on, but there's no output by HDMI. So I need to fix that. But then I'm ordering parts for my sim racing rig. And I'm getting like, the chassis, the seat, the steering wheel. I'm super excited about it. There is no Med School Insiders podcast. Day in the Life of an Anesthesiologist will definitely be coming. All right, more questions. Where do you like to study, your apartment or school library? When I was in college, I primarily studied at home because I had a nice setup. It wasn't like this. Right now I have dual 4K monitors, standing desk, nice audio as well. Yeah, but then in med school, I was studying way more. And if I was just at home, I would go crazy. So I actually studied at UC San Diego, the actual med school. So when classes were over, you could just use the actual rooms. And it's like, a big room for at least 20 people. But then me and my good friend, Dr. Pandey, we'd be studying. And it was like a really nice building. And you can even plug in your computer to HDMI to the big TVs they had. You can dual screen. These days, I do most of my work here at my apartment. Advice to students trying to match into competitive residencies in light of STEP being pass-fail. So check out my video on Step 1 pass-fail. I give my more thorough thoughts, but essentially the TL too long didn't watch, TLDW is, work hard. Your Step 2 CK is going to become much more important than your Step 1 score. But that doesn't mean you should necessarily change a lot in your approach because, well, first of all, it's not going to happen for a couple of years. But even beyond that, if you do well in your preclinicals, if you do well on Step 1, if you do well on your clinical rotations and your shelf exams, that is setting yourself up for a good Step 2 CK score. So if you just kind of think, oh, Step 1's pass fail, I don't really care, and then you go into Step 2 CK, you're probably not going to do as well compared to if you had taken Step 1 seriously. I'm a surprisingly cool guy. Thank you. So that means that you assume that I'm not a chill guy. When are we releasing the podcast? I don't know, man. We've recorded like 7 episodes, but yeah, there's other things that take priority. Memm is taking priority. Med School Insiders is taking priority. Apparently, my sim racing rig is also taking priority. Mental health. Sim racing for mental health. Okay, there's a lot of relationship questions, so I'm going to get into that because that's a common theme that I obviously have not touched on yet. No, I do not have a significant other, and I am not a dating expert by any means. But you guys want to know about my experience. So relationships and med school. There's 2 schools of thought. So you can date a significant other who is also in medicine, also in med school or the healthcare profession, or someone who is not. And usually people feel very strongly about this. I don't think that there is a right or wrong or a black and white. I think that if you are dating someone who is in the medical profession, then the benefits are that they're going to understand more about like what you're going through. And the expectations are kind of, it's easier to get kind of on the same level in terms of expectations. But on the other hand, the downside is that you guys are going to be talking about medicine a lot. So I was dating a girl in med school, and medicine was our life. Like you wake up, it's medicine. You go to clinic or the hospital or med school, it's medicine. You come back home, you're talking about medicine. So that can be, I don't know. I think a little bit more balance is ideal. So if you date someone outside of medicine or outside of healthcare, then you are not going to be talking about medicine all the time, which is great. But then sometimes there can be a little bit of a mismatch in terms of expectations and not always being as understanding of what is expected of you in the hospital. Those are my pros and cons. Other thoughts about dating? Other thoughts about dating. So obviously, mutual respect is like a very important foundation. I think that is like, it's very cliche, but I don't think it's emphasized enough in terms of conflict resolution. So I think conflict resolution is very, very, very important. I think without that like foundation of respect, then you're not going to be able to do mature conflict resolution, where you should not be yelling at each other. You should not be raising your voice. You should not be calling each other names. You should not be trying to hurt each other. You should be trying to understand the other person and see if you can come to a compromise. Because in this day and age with online dating, everyone's like, oh, I want to find the perfect person. And you just go from one person to the next to the next. But the truth is you're never going to find that perfect person because no one is perfect, right? You will disagree with someone someday, no matter how great and perfect you think they are at the beginning. So it's just a matter of having good conflict resolution skills. I think that's very important and not emphasize it enough. What made me move to Nevada? The strippers and the cocaine. No, I moved here because my friend was moving here. It's a good place for business. Let's say that. So that's why I figured I'd check it out. And I'm like trying to be more spontaneous and trying to like get outside my comfort zone. So I've been in California my entire life for the most part. So I figured, hey, I'll move to Vegas for a year. And then if I don't like it, I can always move back. That's why I moved here. What do you think is, okay, some more relationship questions. Do not go into like the dating world expecting like, this is what I'm going to do a relationship. This is what I'm not going to do a relationship. Because if you approach another person with the idea of, okay, I'm going into a relationship or I'm not going into a relationship, then you're already coloring that whole interaction with that person. You're not allowing it to unfold naturally. So so your question about when you should go into a relationship in med school, it's like, I think it's important to date, to put yourself out there, to learn about yourself, to learn about the world, what you like, what you don't like, but don't kind of have like a timetable. Let things happen. So like I don't really agree with the idea that, okay, now I'm open for dating, but before I'm not. Just kind of meet people and see what happens. Let it unfold organically. Favorite research paper I have worked on? There's a good number. One of the earlier ones that comes up that was kind of interesting was surfing injuries. Definitely not my best paper. It was one of the earlier ones, but it was pretty cool because we looked at a trauma database, and I was in San Diego, so I had gone surfing a handful of times. I was definitely not a good surfer. I had tumbled many times. And yeah, just looking at reading up about surfing and the injury rate and comparing that to other sports, it was just a very fun paper for me to work on. Most important quality that's gonna be very personal. What's the most important quality to look for in a girl? What type of girl? I'm not getting into that. How do I decide which questions to answer? There's so many. I just kind of read them at random. Let's see. Am I the biggest critic of myself? Yeah, and I think a lot of people, I think a lot of type A personalities tend to be hard on themselves. So I think a lot of you guys can probably relate to being kind of hard and having high expectations. That's something that I have definitely been working on in terms of like journaling and self-compassion and meditation and metta. Like, so metta is a kind of meditation. It's called, what is it? What does metta stand for? The other name for metta, mindfulness? It's going to bother me now. Loving kindness meditation. Check that out. If you are having issues with like, being too hard on yourself, I think those are good places to start. Save Our Doctors. Oh, Save Our Doctors is still happening for sure. That was also a question on Instagram. Thank you for reminding me. Save Our Doctors is happening. So I realized that Save Our Doctors is going to be much more powerful as its own organization rather than as a subsidiary, like within the larger umbrella of Med School Insider. So we are creating a nonprofit for Save Our Doctors. It's going to be a completely different website, completely like all new. Bought the domain name, haven't set up the website yet, so I can't really show you guys anything. But yes, that is a work in progress, and it is definitely coming soon. Sorry, my autofocus is a little bit funny right now. Hopefully that helps. What kind of traits and strategies should a student build to become a well-rounded surgeon? Take my opinion with a grain of salt, because I didn't finish my surgery residency, right? One thing, actually a few things. Obviously, you should be on top of your game medically. So you should know the management of various things and what you would do in the OR. But equally important, I don't think people emphasize this enough, is working on your actual technical skill. So as a medical student, I don't have any ties on me right now, but like on your scrubs, you have like the elastic band. So I take this elastic band and I would put a tie, like what was it, a 3-0? No, not a 3-0. Maybe it was a 3-0, like a silk tie. And I would just then practice tying knots randomly. And this would be throughout the day. This would be when if I was in lecture, I would tie a knot around the loop of my water bottle and just start practicing. You do one-handed, you do the other hand with your left hand as well. Because in the OR, you don't know if you're going to be using your right or left hand at any time based on the position of the various instruments and the patient's body. And then you would also do two-handed. So you need to be good at both two-handed and one-handed. And then get a suturing kit. Like some of my earliest videos were on how to suture, or actually how to knot tie. I don't think I ever went into suturing. But practice. That will make you a lot better. I also was pretty hardcore. I would use my left hand more, so I'm right-handed. So I want to use my non-dominant hand and improve my dexterity there. So I would purposely open doors with my left hand. I still to this day brush my teeth with my left hand just to be a little bit more, to work on that coordination with my left hand. So I think it helps. Your results may vary. Is it realistic to do pre-med while playing college sports? Yeah. So if you are doing college sports, I think it's definitely going to be more challenging on your time, but you can definitely, if you essentially follow the advice that I push on the Medical Insider's channel about efficiency and optimization and being very deliberate about work and play and not doing that like amorphous nonsense in the middle where we just don't really work that hard, don't really play that hard. We're like trying to get work done while watching the game. Don't ever do that. You want to be working or relaxing. Never try to do both at the same time. Would you give up a less prestigious medical school if it means being with your family and girlfriend, say Boston University, you love Boston, or UCR? That's going to be a really personal decision. My personality, especially, I make spreadsheets of like pros and cons and really write out everything because it helps me think more clearly if I can see everything written out. That's what I would recommend. That's going to be a very personal decision. If you're looking at two good universities like UCR and BU, for example, it's going to come down to much more personal preference. If you're looking at universities that were really mismatched, then you may want to consider more about, okay, is this a top 40 school? Am I going to be, or my future option is going to be changed by going to one school or the other? Yeah, so MCAT delays with COVID-19. Everyone is in the same boat. I know it's challenging. I know it's frustrating. If you ask the AAMC, they can't tell you. If you ask the testing centers, they can't tell you. That's unfortunately the nature of the situation we're in with COVID-19. That being said, your test date is likely going to be delayed. The thing is, you don't want to burn yourself out. So if you are studying, if you're going hardcore, studying 10 hours a day for your MCAT for like 2-3 months, understand that you cannot sustain 10 hours a day you probably cannot sustain it for 4 or 5 months. So what I would do in that case is I would decrease my number of hours studied every day. So decrease the intensity so that you don't burn out, and then use that extra time, not on Instagram or Facebook, use it with like high density, actually restorative, fun things. So that's either exercise, that's hanging out with friends, that's really disconnecting. My opinion about COVID-19 on the match, it's way too early to say for 2021. For 2020, it hasn't really, I mean, match already happened, so it hasn't really changed anything. Oh man, there's so many questions. Oh, let's see. Oh, the stretch routine. Yeah, that's coming out in this Wednesday's video. So I have a morning routine video that is coming out this Wednesday. And in it, I briefly go over what my morning stretching routine is. Actually, let me say that I'm doing 2 videos. One is going to be my morning routine back when I was in residency. So I kind of reenacted that for this Wednesday. And then next week is going to be my current morning routine as an entrepreneur. And that one is going to have a more extensive morning stretching routine because I've developed it and kind of added things and removed things since then. Would I be a dating coach in Vegas? No, I would not. Nothing against dating coaches. That's not me. How long do I think COVID-19 is going to be a problem for? It is way too early to say, but it's going to be months, several months. I think people are kind of hopeful that it's only going to be, hey, a week or two, we're going to be in, social distancing. I think, unfortunately, our lives are going to be changed in some way, maybe to this degree, maybe not, for several months is what I think. But you should probably listen to an epidemiologist or infectious disease expert and not me. How would someone become a PA? I'm going to be doing a video comparing MD versus PA in the future, so stay tuned for that. I'm also going to do a So You Want to Be a PA video in the future as well. Feel guilty for not wanting to practice medicine after graduation. I don't think you should necessarily feel guilty. It's a very personal thing, right? So I think one thing that has come up for me, I've heard it all right at this point. Some people have told me, like, oh, you wasted a spot in medical school and in residency, and you should feel guilty or whatever. I see where that sentiment is coming from because it is hard to get into med school, it is hard to get into residency. But at the same time, I think that what I'm doing now still requires a medical education. So I think that just because I'm not practicing doesn't mean it was for nothing. I think I'm still using my MD and medical training for good and for helping the world. But beyond that, maybe you don't want to, maybe you want to do something completely different. Maybe you want to start a restaurant or whatever. The other thing is that every year there are a lot of people that go unmatched into residency. And essentially, when I quit plastics, someone else swooped in and filled that spot like immediately. So yeah, I don't really understand the logic behind that statement as much. Did you love cars from the Mcat? I love cars, like actual cars, like racing cars. My earliest memories were about cars, but no, the actual the critical analysis reasoning section I wasn't enamored with. 7-year program. Okay, we do have some blog posts on our website about the combined BSMD programs. There are pros and cons. So definitely, that's a big decision to make if you are a high school student. So check out the blog posts we have on medschoolinsiders.com. We do have some things talking about that. Yes, my MD and the fact of matching plastics makes me who I am. Thank you for that, Mr. Keep Going or Mrs. Keep Going. Some of these comments are just too funny. We need a superhuman sex dungeon routine. Don't even know what to say to that. iRacing, yeah. I'm going to take suggestions for sim racing. So iRacing I know is good. Assetto Corsa is good. Project Cars 2 I know is good. Maybe I'll even start streaming my racing. Probably not, but we'll see. UFAP plus sketchy. I think that, yeah, if you do UFAP plus sketchy, plus you're incorporating some space repetition with Anki, then yeah, I think a 240 plus would definitely be achievable. But a lot of it depends on how you are studying and how you are taking tests. So the actual test taking strategies are also a big part of that. Bulletproof coffee. So I have never done a ketogenic diet. I've gone into ketosis after fasting for a couple days, but because of IBD, having very high quantity of fat just doesn't sit well with me. So I try not to have high fat stuff. Would I recommend medicine to someone who likes math more than biology? I think your interest in the subject is only one small component of whether or not you should pursue medicine. I think pursuing medicine is a very big decision, and it should be part of it is like, do you like the subject matter of human biology and things like that, and disease processes and treating that? But then you also really need to spend time with doctors or spend time watching videos like the Day in the Life series as well. But more importantly, spend time shadowing actual physicians to see if this is something you want to do. That's much more important than just what kind of subjects you like in school. Do I ever feel isolated? Yes. Oh my God. During this self-quarantine, social distancing, I feel very isolated. Luckily, my roommate and his girlfriend are back, so they were traveling, and I already feel a lot better having friends around. But beyond that, I'm putting in a more deliberate effort in reaching out to people. So again, like I call my mom every Sunday. I also have some other calls scheduled with other friends for various evenings during the week, because I do think that we're all social animals, even the introverts among us. So it's very important to maintain that social connection, even virtually, during this time. Can I make a video on test taking strategies? Absolutely. Did I play video games growing up? Yeah, I was on Gran Turismo 1. So like, again, obsessed with cars ever since I could remember. I had the PlayStation 1, I had Gran Turismo, all of them, Gran Turismo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was playing those religiously. And on computer games, so in middle school, I was playing StarCraft, and still a little bit in high school, but then I kind of stopped. End of high school to college, I just stopped playing video games. I'm going to start again. Again, sim racing is a video game. Do you need steady hands? I have very rarely seen, there have been some residents I'm aware of at certain programs that I'm not going to mention, where they had to be held back because of their operating skills or lack thereof. So I think if you're like super clumsy, then it may be tougher, but at the same time, I do believe most of these skills are teachable. So like I was saying earlier on in this video, if you practice, if you start, brushing your teeth with your left hand or using your left hand more often and practice your suturing and knot tying skills, then I think most people are going to be fine. That's not really something to be super concerned of, unless maybe you have very bad coordination or you're excessively clumsy beyond what is the norm. So Jacob is asking, UCLA with very little aid versus going to a school like Pitt for free. Check out my video on college prestige. Yeah, my focus is still, let's see. So I have a video on the Medical Insider channel about college prestige and how much it matters. Essentially, at that level, I don't think it's going to make or break your medical school application. For Anki, so I'm not using Anki these days, so I don't really remember. I tweaked a few of the settings to play around with them, but I think for the most part, the default settings on Anki are going to be good enough. So sorry, I can't tell you the exact settings because I haven't been memorizing information like in a couple of years since residency was the last time I was using Anki regularly. How can you rack up publications during an M3 clinical rotation? Showing initiative, that's the biggest thing. So clinical, there's two types of research. You have clinical research and basic research. Clinical research is a lot quicker turnaround. It's what you should be focusing on if you are in your clinical rotations. So sometimes this is a database. This can be, so there's different types of studies too. And I have a video about research, but you can do a case report that's kind of standard. That's not going to be super impressive on your application. I think the best bang for your buck in terms of putting in the least amount of effort and getting the greatest rewards in terms of your application. So again, unfortunately, a lot of this research does come down to a game. Ideally, research should be for only progressing science, but the way it is right now is you need to get publications to be considered at, for certain residency positions. So doing database research, I think that's like been a lot of my research. If you go on my publication list on kevinjabal.com, a lot of database research. That's something that you can actually get very efficient at. There's also systematic reviews, meta-analyses, where you're summarizing a lot of papers on a certain topic. I think those two are really high yield. Case series, case reports, they're also okay. Not bad. Don't avoid them, but I wouldn't put in extra effort trying to seek those out compared to the database and meta-analyses. Will I ever make a nursing video? Yes. I'll probably do an MD versus RN video, or like NP video as well. Do I have older siblings? I have an older brother. That is correct. What did I think my life would be at age 40 when I was 18? I don't know if I was thinking that far ahead. I don't think I was thinking about 40 when I was 18. I was just excited to be 21. Okay, couples matching. So the couples matching essentially comes down to an algorithm. It's kind of hard to explain without the visuals. The algorithm is such that if you wanted to, you guys could create different rank lists. So essentially with couples matching, it's usually, one person, like a couple. Sometimes I've seen siblings do it as well. And you're going to put in your preference and their preference. And the way you do it is there's combinations of where you match and then where they match. So technically speaking, you could have every single variation where you preferentially rank higher those situations where you both end up at the same program. But then you also have situations on your rank list where you do not end up at the same program. So then in that case, you're actually not decreasing your chances of matching. It's going to be a very long list of programs, but that's all I can say about couples matching right now. Otherwise, we'd have to create like a dedicated video just about couples matching. Yes, MD versus NP is definitely coming. Do I recommend studying for the Mcat or taking practice tests while drinking caffeine? Yeah, I think, okay. I personally do not do caffeine. I can't remember the last time I did. I've used it just for emergency purposes when I was in residency or med school when I was super sleep deprived. By saving it for times you really need it, you're not going to build a tolerance. The issue with drinking coffee or caffeine every single day is that you're going to build a tolerance, and then it's going to be less effective, and then you're going to grow dependent. And then if you stop, you get a headache, and that's not really the kind of position I want to be in. It's also a laxative and a diuretic, and I got IBD already, so I don't need help there. There is some utility, though, in terms of using caffeine when you are taking a practice test, because on the actual practice test, you will experience probably more adrenaline and some nerves. And that increased tone of your sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response, is going to be simulated more so from having caffeine. So if you drink caffeine before a practice test, I'm not saying you should do this for every practice test, but doing it occasionally for these practices will prepare you more for your nerves. But for other people, so be careful with that, because for myself, I always find that when I'm in a testing environment and I get those nerves, I focus better. I actually score much better. So I would not want to dampen that effect. I have IBD, not IBS. So IBD is inflammatory bowel disease, which includes ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease. I have Crohn's colitis, which is like between the two. And IBS is irritable bowel syndrome, which is a very different process. There's no physical pathology. It's, anyways, yeah. Z-Dog, I think Z-Dog MD makes amazing stuff. I actually reached out to him recently. I was like, hey man, do you want to do a day in the life? But he's been very, very busy, so he declined my offer. But I think he does a great job on YouTube and Facebook. So kudos to him. Pubs as a pre-med, yes, pubs are important for med school, for sure. Pubs are huge. If you're able to publish a decent amount, I think I had a publication and 2 abstracts when I applied to med school. That's definitely a point of conversation and point of interest for the med school admissions committees, especially if you want to go to a higher ranked like research institution. So if you look at these online rankings also aren't super, you shouldn't really put too much weight on them. But if you want to go to the more research focused institutions, research will be very important. Yeah, community college for med school, that is going to make things harder. Go to a 4-year university if possible. Canadian, yeah, I think we'll definitely be making videos on the Canadian process. Nothing yet, but we have been having those discussions for some time later this year. Do I think away rotations are required for plastics? Generally speaking, yeah, away rotations are going to be helpful. But again, if with COVID-19, there's going to be a lot of exceptions. So understand, guys, that in your situation, whether you're applying to residency or medical school, your test is delayed, your clinical volunteering opportunity is delayed or canceled or whatever, schools are aware of this. Residency programs are aware of this, and they're going to be understanding of that. So my recommendation is do the best with what you have right now. Don't sweat it too much, though. Let's see. If you published in high school, yeah, man. If any publication you've ever created should definitely go on your app. Kudos to you if you're publishing in high school. That's badass. That's hardcore. Dream car. I got too many cars that I love, man. I can't choose one. I love JDM. So I drive an 8.6 right now. I think the new Supra, if the new Supra came in manual, I would be all about that, but it's only automatic. I mean, automatic, yes, automatic is faster, but there is like a certain, I feel like the kind of people that go into surgery also are the kind of people that enjoy driving stick. Like there's just like this skill involved in just trying to get better each and every time, trying to have smoother shifts, do heel toe, double clutch, all these things. Try doing heel toe, double clutch at the same time. It's like all these challenges that are just so rewarding. Yeah, Toyota 8.6. And that's the one that I take to autocross and I race and I love it. Racial background. And I answered this already. I'm Antarctican. My study method when I was in med school, I talk a lot about my study method on the Med School Insiders channel. So check that out. Crypto. I have not invested in crypto because I don't know that much about crypto, to be honest. Okay, applying now versus taking a gap year for med school. Generally speaking, you want to apply when you are strongest. So do not rush. Sometimes students will say, hey, I want to apply to med school now. And then if I don't get an A, I'll apply next year. It's like, no. Avoid that because you do not want to be a reapplicant. You want to get in the first time and you want to have the strongest application possible. So if taking a year off would significantly strengthen your application, then yeah, I think it's a good idea. I did not take a year off. I went straight through. I applied at the end of my junior year so that I would start. So during senior year, I was essentially applying. But it's a very personal decision. So I would not rush the medical school process. Tips for test anxiety. I think, practicing with caffeine or other stimulants during practice environments is helpful. I think deep breathing has helped me. I don't really get so much test taking anxiety, but if I'm feeling stressed, deep breathing has definitely helped. Meditation, that kind of stuff has definitely helped. The self-talk you have is very important. A big part of test taking anxiety is having confidence in yourself, though. So doing enough practice questions and practice tests and knowing that, hey, you've prepared and you are well equipped for this test is going to do a lot of good for you. 100K was hit. Woohoo! Thank you, guys. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, there's like there's supposed to be in the description. So Teespring made a custom design for hitting 100K. See if it's up here. Whoa, I'm watching myself on YouTube. This is crazy. Okay, so I'll have to play around with the Teespring settings, but essentially there's a limited time 100K shirt where it's going to be the Med School Insiders logo over here, and then it says 100K on the sleeve with like the Kevin Jabal MD channel name. And anyways, I think that'll be cool. I'd be rocking it right now, but the sample hasn't come in the mail yet. Thoughts on international pre-meds? That's it. There's a lot. You can definitely do college if you want to do medicine in the U.S. Getting to the U.S. as early as possible is definitely going to be beneficial. But there's a lot of nuance there, a lot of different paths. Thank you for watching. Thanks, Chidera. How is studying in high school different than studying in college? Studying in high school is like you just look at a textbook for an hour every evening or every now and then, a couple days before your test, and you'll be fine. College, you need to be a little bit more structured if you want to get straight A's or set the curve in your class. Med school, you need to rethink your entire study strategy and be as efficient as possible. If I was studying the way that I was studying in med school back like in college or high school, oh my God, life would be so easy, so much easier. That was actually the first video I ever made on Med School Insiders. October of 2016, I was like, I need to make this video because if other people knew how to study like this when they were in college or sooner, their life would be so much easier. And like that video, we have a remake called Study Less, Study Smart, same content, just different visuals. Yeah, I did take AP classes. I took a lot of AP classes. AP Computer Science, that was a lot of fun. We did Java, AP Econ, AP Bio. There's a lot of those AP classes. I think they're helpful. If someone's interested in research but does want clinical experience, so MD PhD is a very flexible, you can technically, MD PhD opens up a lot of avenues for you. The downside is that it takes a lot of time. So I was in San Diego recently visiting my good friend, Dr. Mbti, and we met with one of our friends who started first year with us in med school, right? And then since then, we've graduated, and Dr. Pandy is now an attending. He's finished 4 years of med school, 3 years of residency, and is living the dream life of an attending. And our friend, who is MD PhD, was starting his third year of medical school. So like what you do for medical school, for MD PhD, is you generally do 2 years preclinical, then you do 4 years of clinical, 4 years of your PhD research, and then you do your last 2 years of clinical. So normally you have 4 years of med school. They just kind of split that up. So it's like crazy, like, oh my God, this guy is doing his third year rotation. So with MD PhD, it is a very long process, but then at the end, you're a double doctor. So you can do clinical practice, you can do more research. It's and then also generally you get a stipend when you're in school for those 8 years. What's my specialty? I no longer am clinical, but I was in plastic surgery residency. Did I get straight A's in high school? Yes, I did get straight A's in high school. Where do I live in the US? I'm in Vegas. How am I coping? I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of this video. And yeah, essentially I'm taking social distancing very seriously. And I have been for a while. I haven't really left my apartment in at least 10 days, if not 2 weeks. And yeah, I'm also immunosuppressed. So I'm a higher risk individual because I'm on a medication for my Crohn's disease, which, yeah. Am I married? No. I talked about dating at the beginning of this live stream as well. When should med students start research? The earlier you start research, the better off you'll be. I started my research around this time of my first year. So it was spring break of first year. I started blasting out emails to different PIs. Yeah, essentially research is kind of slow. So the earlier you start, that means the earlier you can publish or have presentations. So definitely start early. What's my height and weight? Oh, we're getting personal now. My height is 6'1", and my weight I've decreased a little bit. I'm around 155 these days. Back in college, I was all about powerlifting and weight training, and I still am. I'm trying to be healthy, but back then I was about 165 to 170. So I'm a little bit, actually a decent amount lighter now. How do I keep motivated and focused? I don't think I am motivated and focused the whole day. I think trying to be motivated and trying to be focused for the entire day is a futile effort. I think you have to understand that you're human, and there is no human except for maybe like Elon Musk who is motivated and focused the whole day. So my days around that. So I'm a morning person. Well, I don't always wake up early, but I love the mornings. So I tend to get a lot of work done in the mornings. And in the afternoons, I have a slump. I get kind of tired. I'm a little bit less excited about working on certain things. So I use that as my administrative block. So in the mornings, it's going to be mostly focused work that requires a lot of attention, a lot of energy. And then afternoons are going to be more admin, like, okay, handle some emails that aren't so fun, handle my taxes, handle things that I'm not super excited about. And then the evening, for some reason, I get like a surge of energy, and then that's more of my creative block. So I'm really feeling inspired, and I have these like smart lights, and I'll change them to a certain color, and then put on some music, and then start typing, a new script or a new video idea or a new business idea, things like that. So for me, it's all about structuring my day. And then there are times when I'm in the middle of a certain block and I should be working, but I can just tell that I'm not being as efficient. Rather than pushing through, I will take a break. Taking a break, this is something that I loved doing in med school. This was so useful to me. Take a break doing something you need to do. So take a break, take a shower. Take a break, wash the dishes. Take a break, go cook. Take a break and do something that's not studying, that gives you a break from it, but it's something that you still have to get done, whether that's getting groceries or cooking or showering or doing your laundry or whatever else it is. What's my IQ? I have no idea. Never did a test. Day in the life of Kevin Jabal as an entrepreneur. I love it. Yes, we are definitely going to be doing that at some point. Did I get scholarship? Yeah, there's scholarships for college. There's so many. Apply broadly, and a lot of them are merit-based. So if you have a high GPA and do well in class, then it's going to be easier to get grants and scholarships that way. Tuba, I missed that username, but thank you for the funny comment. How do publications work? Jeez. Publications work. Essentially, you want to have the most. There's different types of research. You want to have a peer-reviewed journal publication, ideally. You can do abstracts as well. You can do presentations as well. There's a lot of detail there that I think is beyond the scope of this video. We do have some blog posts about research if you want to know more on the Medical Insider's website. Yeah, thoughts on MBBS? It's hard to answer that prompt. It's not even a question. Guys, I love the questions, but if you copy paste the same thing multiple times, it's harder to see what everyone wants to talk about. Yeah, okay, Matt talking about Ben Carson on your personal statement. Because Ben Carson is possibly a more polarizing figure to the people who could be reviewing your application, I would play it safe and probably not include someone who can be polarizing. So you can talk about being inspired by a neurosurgeon, sure, but I probably just wouldn't mention the person's name. Few words describing my stretching exercise. I had lower back pain, which has mostly been resolved because of my stretching routine and core exercises. But I roll on one of these. Trigger point foam roller. That's on my thoracic spine, get some thoracic extension. Then I use one of these lacrosse ball, which right now I'm standing on. So this is a standing desk, obviously. And I roll my foot on it while I'm standing, but then I also use this I fold my leg over and I roll on my glutes and piriformis. That's how I start my morning stretch. And then I get on my back, I stretch my hamstrings, then I do hip flexors, I do wrist exercises, I do cat camel, I do child's pose, the frog groin stretch, deep squat, and then I take my lacrosse ball, put it on my chest, and I go to a corner of a wall and then I roll. That's rolling both the pec major and pec minor, because we're so used to sitting and we get these hunched shoulders. So you want to really open things up, right? So you roll this out, and then on that same wall, I'll then stretch out my pec major like this. And you want to make sure you have some support here at your shoulder. And then you slide your arm up and then you push again, and that's going to get your pec minor. So that's my morning routine in a nutshell. My morning stretching routine in a nutshell. Can I get you a 99.9th percentile on the Mcat? No, I cannot guarantee that. But if you are following the study advice on the channels and follow the information we provide on our website, then you're going to have a much higher score for sure. It's not possible to promise anyone who promises you a 99.9th percentile score, I would be very cautious and questionable of. Thoughts on dentistry? I think it's a cool profession. I'm not an expert on dentistry. I don't know that much about it, but I will be doing some videos in the future. Maybe So You Want to Be a Dentist, maybe Day in the Life of a Dentist. So stay tuned for that. How do you pay rent in med school? Yeah, so most people get loans. I was fortunate I had some scholarship. If you do get scholarship that exceeds your tuition, you will have to pay taxes on it. Know that. Thanks a lot. No, thank you for us. Thank you for watching. Experience had in med school that reinforced decision to pursue medicine. I remember having there've been a lot of experiences. So there have been experiences when I'm, interacting with a patient, like a low income patient. We had this free clinic, and they don't have healthcare anywhere else, and we're coming in, and we really feel like we're doing something significant, even as med students. That was like, I had so many experiences there at the free clinic at UCSD, which I think is such an awesome program. A lot of good experiences there, and then also in the OR. I remember the first day of my third year of medical school. I think I talked about this in another video, but oh my God, it was a joint plastics neurosurgery case, animated latissimus dorsi transfer. Essentially, patient couldn't flex her elbow, so transfer the latissimus dorsi, over the shoulder, attach it to her forearm. It was just crazy. It was 7 hours. I didn't use the bathroom. I was wearing dress shoes, so I didn't have proper OR shoes. I was just so hyped and so juiced. And I remember calling my mom afterwards, like, "Mom, I'm gonna be a surgeon. I know what I want to do with my life." Kind of ironic now since I quit plastics, but I had a lot of memories in the operating room, just being so captivating, be like, "Oh my God, this is the coolest thing in the world." How many publications did I have before playing in plastics? A lot. Core and Kegel exercises. You guys are funny. GI pain. Yeah, there have definitely been days when I don't want to interact with people because of the pain. Luckily, I'm pretty well managed with my medications. I've also been very, very, very restrictive with my diet to get to the point where I am today. There were years in college I literally ate at Jamba Juice, Subway, and this one local restaurant at UCLA, and I knew what I could and could not eat. I had to minimize fiber. It was very restrictive, but over the years I've experimented. I've added things. I've removed things. I now know, like, I love hummus, but I know that hummus doesn't sit well with me, so I stopped eating hummus. So being as regimented as possible with your diet, within reason, is going to be very beneficial. Even for IBS, there's a lot of evidence suggesting that the Fodmap diet for IBS is helpful in controlling your symptoms. So beyond that, yeah, there's times when I do flare up or I don't feel well. And I mean, having a bidet, let's be real, that's more sanitary, it's more comfortable, it's just like a better way of doing things. So definitely get a bidet. Hope that's not TMI for you guys. What else? I think squatty potty has been helpful for me as well. I take my bathroom time very seriously, as you can tell. And not being afraid to just like do work when you're on the toilet. If there's days when maybe you need to use the toilet like upwards of a dozen times, which is a lot of time on the toilet, especially if you're getting scoped. If you need to do bowel prep, you're gonna spend a lot of time on the toilet. So then, get your iPad or a book every morning. This is probably TMI, but every morning I take this to the bathroom because I don't want to start my morning texting, reading Instagram. I want to start my morning reading, learning, not being bombarded by all these inputs. Have I tried gluten-free? Yes, I was on gluten-free for a full year in college as a way to experiment with my diet. Again, I've tried many things, including plant-based, gluten-free, etc., specific carbohydrate diet, the SCD diet. And no, gluten-free did not help me at all. Intermittent fasting. I actually have not eaten since yesterday at like 8 p.m. It's now 4 p.m. here. Intermittent fasting for me, so a lot of people do it for weight reasons. I'm not trying to lose weight. I don't have a six-pack, but I'm not trying to lose weight. I do intermittent fasting because, number one, it's much more convenient to only have to eat twice or a couple times per day rather than having 3 meals. Less cooking, less cleaning, less time eating, more time doing whatever you want to do. And then also just helps me with not having to use the bathroom as much. So with sometimes I'll eat something that doesn't sit well, and if I am intermittent fasting, then I'm not going to be having to use the bathroom as often, which is just a nice bonus. So, and it also like builds your discipline, to be hungry and be like, no, I will eat later. I think that it's a useful skill just to get used to discomfort. Dark Sword 425, I love you too. Yeah, GI problems suck, but yeah, 100K party, we talking about bidets, we keeping it real. Bidets are life. Bidets are underrated, especially now. Toilet paper. Am I stressing about toilet paper? Got a bidet. BSMD programs. There's pros and cons. What I will say is check out the website, the blog. Am I good at soccer? Nah, I was on a soccer team when I was in grade school. They called me leg because I was defense, and like my job was just get it out of there, just kick it to the other side, and I could kick it far, so they called me the leg. This was like when I was very young, though, like middle school. Shadowing, community service. I don't remember the exact number of hours. There are recommendations, and it's going to vary based on school. 100 here, 200 there, etc. What I did that I try to recommend to other students is try to kill two birds with one stone. So for my clinical experience, I did some shadowing. I also did, it was called Student Stroke Team at UCLA. So we were doing clinical research in the ED for possible stroke patients. And then you're also getting clinical experience and working with doctors and interacting with doctors and the other healthcare workers on the team. So if you can, try to combine research with your clinical volunteering. George, I appreciate that. No, I'm not homosexual. Step one, pass fail. I have a video on step one being pass fail. How many shadowing? Yeah. Thoughts on Indian med schools? I don't know much about Indian medical schools, to be honest. Thank you, Faraz. Much love to you as well. Favorite car company? Ooh. Favorite car company? That's a good question. I love Toyota. I love the AE86. Any initial D fans out there? I was all about that back when I was in middle school, not med school. Yeah, love Toyota. I think the Honda NSX, super sexy car, especially like the OG NSX, the one that was developed with Ayrton Senna, not the newer one. I don't know. I got mixed feelings about that. I think Porsche. The thing I love about Porsche is their cars are just like so well engineered. They're like over engineered. You can do the launch control 50 times in a row, and you're going to get the same 0 to 60 time each and every time because they're not going to overheat. So my next car, I think, is going to be a Porsche Cayman, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, COVID-19 predictions, I'm not sure. I'm also not an epidemiologist, so I'm really not an expert on that. Biochem. Biochem is it's kind of similar to how you would study for chemistry, more or less. So do a lot of practice problems. I really enjoyed biochemistry a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. Yeah, Jesus Garza, initial D. Bidet gang, yes, bidet gang. Am I an F boy? No comment. I don't even know how to answer that. Nicky Lauda or James Hunt? Ooh, God, such a good story. I think they were both, amazing drivers and just an amazing story, an amazing rivalry. I do love F1. I'm all about that Lewis Hamilton gang, the team LH. So I was there at the British Grand Prix last year. Yeah, in terms of car manufacturers, I like McLaren. I like Mercedes. I'll say that for now. I think Red Bull is pretty cool too. Med school versus PA. We're going to be talking about that on a future video on the Med School Insider channel. Yeah, initial D. Cayman GT4. I mean, yeah, Cayman GT4 would be amazing. It's like the highest end Cayman. So you got the Cayman base, you got the S, you got the GTS, you got the GT4. So GT4 also goes for 100 grand new versus the base, which is like 55 or 60 grand, which is already pretty expensive. But we'll see. Maybe in a year or two, once Memm comes out, once some other business things are situated, we'll see. Hardest class for me. Okay, this is almost kind of embarrassing. My hardest class was literally Psychology 101. It was some class that was like stupidly easy. I remember taking it during my senior year of college because so everyone has different strengths. So my strength was essay-based questions, critical thinking, reasoning. So there was like very challenging courses where they would teach you something and then give you a brand new problem that you've never seen before, and you have to figure it out based on knowledge in the class. And I was actually in one class that was all about action potentials, an upper division neuroscience course just about action potentials, a full course on action potentials. I kid you not. And that course, like, that was easier for me, comparatively speaking, to just, okay, I learned this in class. Okay, let me think through this. And I could reason my way and do actually quite well on those classes. But Psychology 101, it was just like memorization and then a multiple choice test. No thinking. You just like regurgitate. I remember my midterm, I got like a B on my midterm or something. I was like, oh my God, I'm not about to get a B in this class. So I had to study really, really hard. And I didn't know about spaced repetition, flashcards back then. I was just like reading my textbook again and again, which is a terrible way to study. But back in college, I wasn't really doing the right study techniques. And that's why I made a lot of these videos on the Medical Insider channel on how to study properly. So that was probably one of the hardest classes that I can remember, or maybe the most frustrating class, because there was like a mismatch. There was obviously organic chemistry. I worked harder, but like you expect to work hard in those classes. But psychology 101, oh, do that class. It's so easy. The easiest A you'll ever get. I'm like, hold up, man. I just got a B on the midterm. Like I actually need to study to make sure I don't get a B in the class. 2-in-1 laptop or iPad. I use Mac. I use Apple. So I have an iPad. When I was in residency, I was using the iPad Pro to take notes and draw. So a lot of plastic surgery, draw figures, there's a lot of it's anatomy. So the iPad, you can type and you type. Well, I type way faster than I write, and then drawing as well. So the iPad for me was a perfect device. I haven't really used the Microsoft Surface that much, so I can't really comment on that. But I have seen other people that are happy with it. So. Someone who works full-time and wants to go into medicine, if you're working full-time, you can still definitely get into medical school. But when you're in medical school, you cannot be working an outside job. I think a lot of schools, I know my school did, they actually have rules where you are not allowed to take on outside jobs while you're at med school, because the chance of you failing a class and having to repeat or being delayed is very high if you do that. Yes, I'm aware that Kanye's mom did pass from a plastics complication. My understanding of that was that it was contraindicated for some pre-existing health conditions, and they proceeded regardless. I found like another plastic surgeon to do that. Was I always very disciplined and structured? No, I remember sometimes I look at my room now and I'm like, when did this happen? Because now I make my bed every morning. I keep my desk totally clean. I think it was sometime during college when I started to appreciate the importance of tidiness and organization and structure. When I was in high school, when I was a kid, my room was a mess. My mom will always have to tell me, hey, clean up your room, get those clothes off the floor. I was a messy kid, just like every other kid. Verbal section for the Mcat, you got to do a lot of practice problems. I talk about my Mcat experience on the Medical Insider channel. Yeah, sorry guys, the autofocus is, this is my first time live streaming. Hopefully I'll get it figured out for next time. Did I take extracurricular classes during med school? You don't really take extracurricular classes during med school unless you are working towards another degree. I think at a few programs you can take electives for fun, but no, I did not. I was just focusing on med school, trying to do research, trying to live a balanced life. How old am I? I am 29. Jose, you said, can I answer your question? I'm not sure what your question is. Try sending it again. Thoughts on being a pre-med philosophy major? Yeah, I think being pre-med philosophy is fine. Like any pre-med major is valid. It's more important you do something you're interested in than you try to think like, oh, what is best for med school? Because yeah, you can be a stellar applicant if you're philosophy, for sure. How did I manage stress in medical school? The first thing that comes to mind is if you have a significant other, spending time and doing some certain things with them can always be helpful. Meditation, exercise. I did a lot of weights and cycling in med school. Deep breathing. Oh yeah, journaling is something that I also started in med school that was very helpful with my overall mind state day to day. So it's been so helpful that I've been journaling for years. And I'll miss a day every now and then, but for the most part, I've been journaling most days for the last several years. And I use day one on my phone, syncs to my computer, syncs to my iPad. It's like, there's a free account, but if you want multiple journals and for the syncing, it's like $3 a month or something super affordable. Do I think MBA programs are worth it? Okay, that's a good question. So I personally did not get an MBA. My love for entrepreneurship really started, I'd say like third or fourth year of med school. Towards the end, I started Blue Link, which is a biomedical incubator modeled after Stanford's Biodesign, which is an academic incubator, like the leading academic incubator. But their model is different because they take postgraduate fellows and they pay them a $70,000 stipend. I said, hey, I want to do the same thing for students to get the similar opportunities. So there wasn't a program like that at my university. So I said, okay, I'll start one. And that kind of opened me up to this whole world of entrepreneurship and startups and med tech and stuff like that. And it was super cool. And I remember talking to a lot of mentors who were saying, do not get an MBA, because at the end of the day, you do, like, if you want to start companies and you want to be founding your own companies, then doing it is the best way to learn. But if you want to do more like management and then work for another company, then okay, maybe you should consider an MBA, because that'll kind of pad your resume. So that was the advice I got. I don't feel limited at all by not having an MBA, but again, I never got an MBA, so I don't know what I'm missing. So medical school versus university ranking. So the general consensus is that your undergraduate ranking doesn't matter as much for getting into medical school. Mostly true, but there are certain more prestigious programs that do care about your pedigree, meaning where you came from, which I don't agree with, but that's just kind of the reality. And when it comes to residency, they don't care as much about your medical school, I don't think, based on my experience. However, again, there are some programs that do value your pedigree. So at the end of the day, just try to do the best you can in college and the best you can in med school. That's the take-home point. How competitive? CT surgery. CT surgery is pretty competitive. So you could do, I'm not an expert on CT surgery. My understanding is you can do gen surgery, then do a fellowship, but I think now they do have integrated programs where you just go straight into CT as well. Am I single? Yes, and ready to mingle. How did I figure that medicine was my calling? I got sick with Crohn's disease. I talk about it on this channel, actually. Getting sick, for me, okay, so back when I first got sick, there was obviously a very charged time, a lot of emotions, and I used anger to fuel me, which helped me then, but I realized in medical school it was not a healthy thing that I didn't want to keep relying on. So I've moved away from that. But back then, part of it, I mean, to be totally frank and blunt, I wasn't happy with the care I was receiving at the beginning. I found an amazing gastroenterologist, Dr. Tesfaye, who was in my first colonoscopy video. But at the beginning, I was very frustrated with my care. And I was like, the world needs more good gastroenterologists. I'm going to become the world's best gastroenterologist. Like, that was my thing. And I was so driven and so motivated. And I wanted to actually become a pediatric gastroenterologist to help kids, because I understood that at 18, it was so tough for me. And I was like, just imagine being like 10 and having this. How tough can that be? So I was really motivated to do that. Kiwis. Nice. You must be watching a lot of Jeff Nippard, as I do as well from time to time. Thank you, Jacob, for the congrats on 100K. Well, thank you guys for watching. So this 100K is for you guys, because I would not be able to do what I'm doing if I didn't have you guys watching these videos. So really, thank you. And I didn't do this on the Medical Insider channel because for some reason the Medical Insider channel feels like a little bit more disconnected, since my face isn't there, just my voice and animations. But over here, it's like I'm talking to you guys in every video on camera. So I just want to say, really, thank you. I could not be doing this without you guys, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Best way to approach cold calling doctors for research. Don't like cold call in terms of like phone. You want to send an email. And I think I provided, if you go on the website, one of our first blog posts was, I think one of our first blog posts had like a template for how to request a research position to a bunch of PI. So you always want to customize it a little bit. People don't like receiving generic templated emails, right? So you want to have a little bit of customized message about their specific research, why you're interested in their research, or that area of interest within a certain field. And you want to be very polite and make it as easy as possible for them. If you are asking someone for a favor, do not make it difficult for them. Make it as easy as possible. That people that go that extra step in making it easy and being very thoughtful of that definitely get preferential treatment, because this person's clearly considerate and they want to work with you. Jacob, you're subscribed to both of my channels and you love the content. Thank you. I love you, Jacob. The car behind me is actually an E30. It's a it's called Black Prince. Yeah, so it's made by this, I think her name is Sabrina Chung, really talented artist. And she had this actually girl I was dating in med school got that for me as a gift. It's a super cool piece of art. Did I work during med school? No, you can't really work during med school. You just gotta study. Do I practice mewing? No, I've never practiced mewing. Mewing is like when it's like tongue positioning, on your palate for facial bone development. I think UCSD internal medicine is amazing. Dr. Pandy, one of my best friends from med school, he went there. He's an amazing physician. He had good things to say about the program. He was very, very grateful he ended up there for residency. And he's still practicing there now as an attending, not at UCSD, but he's in San Diego as an attending. Am I into investing? I'm very much nerding out on investing right now. So I am not a financial expert. I'm not giving any financial advice. I tend to follow the Jack Boglehead's philosophy of investing. That's, broad index funds, invest at regular intervals, have an asset allocation predefined beforehand, and stick to your plan. Don't change things emotionally when, oh my God, the market is dipping. Like, no, don't sell. Stick to the plan, stick to the course. So that's my philosophy. It's kind of like Pareto principle, right? So you put in, that's like 20% and you'll get 80% of the results. But if you really want the maximal results on your investing, the way I see it is you have to do more than that. I'm not at the position where I am doing more than that. I am focusing more on my businesses right now and, building these income generating assets that will then allow me to invest money in the future. But right now it's not like I have a lot of money to invest. So I'm not really sweating the optimal investing strategy, because what's 1% when you have less money to invest? Oh my God. MSI is business in the front. KJMD is bidet party in the back. All right. Jake Paul, no comment. IMGs with the new pass fail. Okay, that's a question I've been getting a lot. Step 2 CK is going to be very important. So doing away rotations is going to be more challenging for IMGs, because oftentimes your VSAS application, a lot of IMGs don't even use VSAS. Like if you're at SGU, for example, my understanding is that they do not use VSAS to do away rotations. But a lot of times an away rotation will be dependent on your step 1 score. So I'm not sure how that's going to go down. Maybe letters of recommendation will become more important and you'll start securing them earlier. We will see. Got to get those dividends. That's right, Logan Reed. Studying from the Mcat for scratch. Check out my videos because I talk about the things I did right, the things I did wrong, what I wish I would have done differently. Okay, how did I get so many publications? So note, this is a game. Research is a game. So they're not 60 individual publications. There's about 30 to 40 unique projects. And then some of those papers became presentations or abstracts or talks of some sort. So if a single project can be listed more than once. If you have a publication and an abstract, that can be one project with 2 different listings, for example. And there's some strategy there when it comes to your actual medical school application to really, it's terrible to say this, but to like game the system or to make your research seem as impressive as possible, which is like, that's the name of the game, because the way things are set up right now is you need to be as impressive on paper as possible when it comes to your research. So that's beyond what we can talk about here though. UK versus US for surgery residency. That depends on where you want to practice. If you want to practice in the UK, go to the UK. If you want to practice in the US, go to the US for residency. Simple as that. Mayo Clinic's Cardiovascular Interventional Radiology Fellowship. I don't know anything about it, but Mayo Clinic is generally a great program, a great place to train. So it's probably good. I would recommend you speak with actual cardiologists or IR specialists, people that are doing what you want to do, and ask them for their opinion, because they're going to really know the down and dirty. I shouldn't say down and dirty, the nitty gritty. Was it hard to let go of plastic surgeon salary and stability? I was not making a plastic surgeon salary because I was in residency. So I was making what, like 55, 52, something like not that much money. But yes, after a few years, what I have been making great money, sure. But I also believe that I am confident or delusional enough in myself, however you want to say it, that I think in the future I'll be making fine money. I don't need to, like, I don't think I'm giving that salary up forever. And I think whatever income I have, I don't think income is the number one most important thing. I think having a good work-life balance, enjoying the work, making a positive impact. Like, I do not like I don't like I just want to help people, because it kind of brings in this whole like question of morality and moral judgment, and like patting yourself on the back, like, yeah, I'm a good person because I just want to help people. Like, here's the thing. If you want to just be as selfish as possible, the selfish thing to do is to maximize for your own happiness and your own satisfaction, correct? So if I want to maximize my happiness and satisfaction, how do I do that with work? So, okay, first of all, the whole money and happiness equation of 75K, that's debunked. Check out my video on the Mental Insider channel, looking at the actual research about happiness and money. But more importantly, it comes down to helping other people. So if you are helping other people and making a positive impact and feeling like you matter and your work matters and you're changing people's lives, then that positive impact will make you feel happy. So the selfish thing to do is actually paradoxically to help other people. So I feel that with my current work, some people may disagree with this, but I feel like I'm making a much bigger impact than I ever would have as a plastic surgeon through the work that I'm doing. Even now, just with like, Med School Insiders and the YouTube channel, like the business and the YouTube channel. And I think with Memm, it's going to be expanded even more. And I have other business ideas as well. It's just going to expand more and more in the future. That's my idea. Yes, orthopedic surgery was going to come out. It got bumped a week because I'm doing a video on COVID-19 for students this upcoming Saturday. But we do have a orthopedic surgery video, I think, in 3 weeks from now. Cardiology versus nephrology, two very different fields. I know when I was studying cardiology in med school, I loved cards. When I was studying nephrology in med school, it was just very different. I wasn't as much of a fan, to be honest. Is resident salary enough for living in California? Yes. If you live in the Bay Area, though, then I think a lot of those programs will give you an additional housing stipend, because Bay Area housing is like the highest in the nation. Oh, wow. We've been doing this for 1 hour and 20 minutes. All right, I'll probably stay on for another like 10 minutes or so. And then I got to run. I should probably eat. I'm way beyond my 18:6 window. Video on dual degree programs. And yeah, I think I'm going to do some videos on dual degree programs like MD, JD, MD, MBA, MD, PhD. I've been getting a lot of questions about that, but I think it's better suited for a unique video. Okay, Omar, can't do that, man. Putting you in timeout. Do I know some IMGs from Germany? I do know an IMG from Germany. He's doing residency on the East Coast. Yeah, I actually did some plastic surgery research with him. Some pubs. Actually, a lot of my pubs are with him. What do I look for in a woman? Probably beyond the scope of this AMA. I think trustworthiness. I think finding someone who helps you grow, who can help you be the best person, the best possible version of yourself, I think is very important. But like, I know some people have like a check boxes of like, oh, this person needs to do this and that, and I don't have check boxes. I care a lot about a person's character, and if they bring out the best in me, if good conflict resolution skills, I think is very important. Have you ever thought about teaching? Yes, I love teaching. I want to do more teaching through technology programs like online learning tools, whether that's courses, YouTube, etc. I think teaching is fantastic. Teaching is very fun. Teaching is awesome. Podiatry school. Podiatry is great if you want to work on podiatry stuff, feet, ankles, stuff like that. In the ortho video, we briefly mentioned podiatry because orthopedic surgeons can also specialize in foot and ankle surgery. Podiatrists, on average, do less surgical management, but they are starting to do more, whereas orthopedic surgeons do like just surgery. So, investment books. I liked The Boglehead's Guide to Investing. I thought, terrible book name, but The Millionaire Fastlane by, was it MJ DeMarco? That was like a good book about entrepreneurship. I think, Millionaire Next Door is like, it's an okay book, I guess. Start there. There's a few other books, but like I don't want to mention them because I don't think that they were stellar. I think reading up on a lot of blogs and going on Reddit, and I think a lot of investment books don't really tell you much new that you couldn't get from like a long blog post. I think a lot of them are just really drawn out. Trauma surgery video, yeah, coming. What matters more for med school application, GPA or MCAT? Med school application, GPA is so the reason GPA and MCAT are so important is that they are objective measurements of your academic achievement or abilities, if you will. So are they perfect? No. But are they objective? Yes. So they're the standardized measurement. And for that reason, med schools care a lot about them, not because they say you're going to be a better or worse doctor. And a lot of people are like, oh, MCAT should be pass fail. Like, come on, think this through, guys. So your MCAT and GPA being at a certain threshold indicates that you will likely be successful in medical school handling the very intense, rigorous curriculum and doing well on your boards, things like that. So that's why your MCAT and GPA are so important. But the general public, pre-meds and their parents, care way too much about GPA and MCAT because is it important? Yes. Is it your whole application? Absolutely not. We have, like on Med School Insiders, we've helped a lot of students get into med school who fail to get into med school the first time because even when they had like a 520 and a 3.9, because the soft components of their application weren't there. So some students, like if you have a lot of interviews and you don't get any acceptances, that points to weak interview skills. Because once you have an interview, they're considering you as an applicant. And if they are not accepting you, then that points to weak interview skills. Whereas if you have those stellar numbers and you're not getting any med school interview invitations, then that points to weak soft components such as your letters of recommendation, your personal statement, your secondaries, other things. So the medical school application is a very holistic thing. It's not just MCAT and GPA. And that's something that people tend to focus on too much because it's objective and it's easy to measure. But these other components are just as important. Do you use the same data set for multiple projects? So this is going back to research. Yes, you can use the same data set and then have multiple different hypotheses and test those. So yeah, you can definitely do that. Hello, Raj from the Philippines. Thanks for joining us. Face transplants. Ooh, face transplants are super cool. So to be completely honest, so face transplants are amazing. Hand transplants are amazing. It's less of a plastic surgery breakthrough. So plastic surgeons are doing a lot of the microsurgery. It's more on an immunology perspective, not rejecting the transplant. So that's actually the more of the breakthrough happens there in recent years. And the cool thing that's going to be happening with face and hand transplants is maybe it's not the cool thing, but the challenging thing is going to be the ethical situation of who do you provide this to and what kind of happens next. So we're going to see how that unfolds. Do you feel like you gave up your 20s experiences for med school? No, I'm obviously a huge nerd. I fucking loved med school. I think, so college for me, again, I got IBD like a few months into college. My family fell apart, financial issues. We were like, parents got divorced. Me, my mom, my brother, we moved into a 1-bedroom apartment. I was, just got Crohn's disease and was sharing a single toilet with 2 other adults. Not an ideal situation, to say the least. Not the best time of my life. I was pretty angry about just the things that were happening to me. I was very driven, but I didn't enjoy and love my college the way that a lot of people love college. So for me, med school, I was healthy and I was back to a better place. I loved med school. Med school was my college part too. And it's not that I was unhappy in college. I was still on a dance team. I was still hanging out with friends and doing things, but there was a lot of just struggle in college. A lot of just health issues, and I was experimenting, and then, this diet works, this diet doesn't work, and trying new meds and these meds. And there's like a lot of personal pain that kind of taints my college experience. But I loved med school, and I think my 20s were awesome. I mean, I'm still in my 20s. I'm 29, so it's not over yet. You got to make this year count. Orthopedic surgery is coming out in about 3 weeks. How much did I travel in med school? I did not travel all that much. First year, we had a winter break. And during that winter break, I went to India. And then after taking step 1, I went on a cruise. That was amazing. Oh my God, we went to Bermuda. Whew, one of like the coolest places on earth, Bermuda. I also did some of the British Virgin Islands. And then end of med school, I traveled to a few places, Bali, Cape Town, stuff like that, like a vacation to enjoy, to celebrate. Because most students, I mean, before residency starts, like, first of all, you should be celebrating that, hey, you got through med school and you mashed, congratulations. But in residency, you're probably not going to have the chance to do as much traveling. So you got to take advantage of it at the end of med school. Sorry, I put you in timeout. Do I expect step 2 to be pass fail? I do not at this time. We'll see what happens. Am I mentoring, tutoring? I do sometimes mentor or tutor students on the medschoolinsiders.com website. It kind of varies though, based on my availability, based on a lot of different things. So recently, some people have requested me, I had to turn them down. But then there have also been some students that I did take on for tutoring or for mentorship. So I can't promise anything, unfortunately. Next travel destination. Okay, I was going to do Japan. I love Japanese culture and the food, and of course the cars, because 90s was when I was growing up, and it was the golden era of the Japanese sports cars, what we call it, the 1990s. You had the Supra Mark IV, you had the Skyline R34, you had the NSX, you had the RX-7 FD, you had all these different cars that were just so amazing. So I was going to go to Tokyo. January 27th or 28th was my flight, and coronavirus was like on the news. So even back then, I was like, you know what? Health is not something that I take risks professionally. I am, I quit residency, starting my own, like that's a risk that I'm willing to take. I do not like taking risks on health. I understand. I have had bad health. I've been hospitalized for several days, and it's like not a good place to be. So I do not like taking a risk with health. So for that reason, I canceled my flight. So my 2-week Japan trip was canceled, and I've been here in Vegas ever since. Travel destinations beyond that, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. What are med school parties like? Med students tend to study hard and party hard, but be responsible. Don't do anything stupid. Sometimes people take it a little bit too far. They're like, oh, got to party hard, and then they take it too far, and then they get hurt or bad shit happens. So just be responsible. And like, don't take pride in being like a heavyweight. Oh, I'll drink you. Dude, I'm a lightweight. I like in college, everyone was like, I can outdrink you. I'm such a man. It's like, really? That's how you judge your manliness or your worth as a person? Come on. We're better than that. So I'm now a lightweight. I rarely ever drink. I can't remember the last time I drank. Probably late 2019 or something. Yeah. Or no, I did have 2 drinks when I was in the Caribbean. One of the Caribbean SGU faculty or someone who works there made a comment like, you were getting drunk off our booze. I'm like, damn, dude, I should have gotten drunk. I only had 2 drinks. Guys, please don't spam. We want everyone to have a chance. If you spam, I'm gonna have to put you on timeout. How did you do research while practicing medicine? Okay, the cool thing about, so in med school, you're like the bottom of the totem pole. Well, actually, technically, like pre-meds are below you on the totem pole. So when you're doing research, you do a lot of like the heavy lifting. When I was a resident, I was then paired up with some med students. So med students want to work with you for research because it helps their application. And then you're like, hey, I want research too, because it helps you get a job or get a fellowship. So Yeah, when I was a resident, it was awesome to have people help. So then you can kind of divide and conquer and be much more efficient, much more productive that way. How am I going to celebrate making 1 million subs? Well, I'm in Vegas, so you know what that means. Actually, I don't know. I'm not sure how I'm going to celebrate 1 million subs. Favorite joke? Oh, my favorite joke about medicine. How do you hide $100 from an internal medicine, like a hospitalist? You put underneath the dressing. So the joke is that there's multiple parts to this joke. Hold up. But I need to explain this because I feel like a lot of people that aren't in med school yet won't understand this. So we kind of joke that in the mornings during rounds, the hospitalists, they don't actually look underneath the dressings to see how the wound is. Is it infected? Is there exudate? What kind of exudate? Is it healing properly? So surgeons always will check the incision and check the wound site. Hospitals always not so much. So we say to hide $100, put it under there, they'll never find it, right? How do you hide $100 from a neurosurgeon? Give it to his kid. Kind of dark, but neurosurgeons work the hardest. They work the most challenging hours. Check out my So You Want to Be a Neurosurgeon video if you want more details about what it's like to be a neurosurgeon. So you give it to his kid. Pretty messed up because, okay, the neurosurgeon doesn't have time for his kid. And then how do you hide $100 from a plastic surgeon? You can't. And the joke there, obviously, is that plastic surgeons love making money. But then it's like a very oversimplification because in plastic surgery, you have reconstructive and then you have aesthetic or cosmetic. So people usually just think of the aesthetic, but I made another video, So You Want to Be a Plastic Surgeon, explaining the different types. I was personally really into microsurgery and hand surgery. Nothing against aesthetics. Wasn't for me, wasn't as exciting. Whereas like the sci-fi stuff, when you using microscopes and doing crazy shit that if I told you, you'd be like, we can do that? Like the first case I saw, I was like, is this real life or am I dreaming? Because I don't think that our modern technology would allow us to do this. This must be science fiction. So that's the complex recon in plastics that I think is so cool. Funniest med school memory. I don't really remember. We had a lot of good times. When you're working so hard with your group of friends, you become so close. And there were just many fantastic times to be had. I mean, we were like studying and we had crazy jokes. We would watch certain YouTube videos just to break, like, you know, just for the mood. What happens in Vegas? Bidet gang, hashtag bidet gang. I'm down for that. Hashtag bidet gang. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Except for my bidet habits. That apparently is worldwide now. General surgery. You're starting your prelim year. It's going to be tough. I think move early. I remember I moved only like 10 days or a week before. Maybe it was a week. I think it was like 5, 6, 7 days before. And then when I was in the middle of a very challenging rotation, because I started off on plastics and you're working 70, 75 hours minimum. And then I was taking call too on the weekends. So move in early, get situated, figure out your groceries, your furniture, all that stuff before you start on July 1st. Actually, I started June 30th. So figure out your start date too. And then we had orientation a few days before that. Figure out your start date. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You know, network, like maybe network's not the right term, but like find your group of people as early as possible too. I think that social support is important when you're in residency. Yep, still got the FRS, the 8.6, still driving it. 7 years old now. It's getting old. Maybe we'll upgrade it in the next year or so. Thoughts on paying off an MD committee to get accepted? I think that's like an ethical no-no. I don't think there's any gray area there. You should not be paying an admissions committee to get accepted to med school. You can pay people to help with your application. I think that's totally legitimate. I mean, obviously my business is very much built on that principle, but to pay like that's like bribery. I would never do that. What's the color of my underwear? Black. Always black. If you're working 80-hour weeks in residency, how did I find time for research? My residency was not healthy. That's why I got to the point where I realized I had to quit, was because I was doing plastic surgery residency, building Blue Link, building Med School Insiders, working out, lifting weights at least 3 to 4 times a week, starting while I was like in an early relationship at that time. So I was not sleeping much. Which is not good. I'm not saying that like, oh, I was so hardcore. No, that was stupid. Sleep is very, very, very important. So at a certain point, I was like, this is not healthy. I cannot sustain this for 6 years. This is not going to work. And then I was like, okay, I need to make a difficult decision. Because I didn't not like plastics. I love plastics. I think it's the coolest specialty in medicine, in my very biased opinion, obviously. So then I had to say, okay, I can only do one realistically. Which one is it going to be? But yeah, for research in residency, if you're not doing those other things, so yeah, I was also doing research as well on top of that. Not as hardcore as I was as a med student. For research, as a resident, try to delegate, but also use your downtime. I mean, you're going to have weekends. You're going to have evenings or downtime in the hospital occasionally where you can like read a paper. So just, it's all about being efficient. Do I only wear black long sleeve shirts? I don't, but I do have a lot of these because they're just like comfy. I think they look okay. It's also the new C8 Corvette. I think it's going to be extremely impressive performance-wise. The C8 Corvette, badass in that perspective. In terms of the actual looks, I'm not the biggest fan. I think it looks like the proportion is just off. It's slightly awkward. I think maybe the next time they do a mid-engine Corvette, it's going to look better. That's my thought. All right, I was going to end it like 10 minutes ago, but I'm having a lot of fun. Let's go for another like 20. I am getting really hungry though. Lesser known jobs. You can find blog posts about what to do with an MD if you don't want to be clinical. So you can do consulting. You can do, well, there's like some legal stuff you can do. There's a lot of different things. You can do urgent care with an MD, and if you don't want to finish residency, for example. Oh, this is a question that came up on Instagram that I wanted to answer. Would I ever go back to residency, even in primary care, just to be able to practice? No. I will never go back to residency for a couple of reasons. Number one, to go back into plastics, which would be my number one choice, like it's not going to happen. So plastics is very competitive. And if they see someone who quit, they're not going to even consider that applicant because they have all these other super, super qualified applicants who they would rather take. So you can't get back into plastics after you quit. So that's number one. Then the second question is, okay, what about primary care? What about another specialty? Based on my personality, I'm obviously very structured and tidy and meticulous. Plastics was a perfect match for me. I loved that specialty. And to go into something else, like primary care, anesthesia, or radiology, they're great specialties. They're just not for me. They don't excite me in the same way that plastics does. And I would not dedicate my life and like all this time and effort and energy to doing something that I don't fully 100% believe and love. So I feel 100% about entrepreneurship to this day. I love entrepreneurship. So I don't feel like I'm ever going to want to go back to clinical medicine. We'll see though. You never know. Oh, best meal on my travels. First thing that pops into mind, 3 meals in Asia that were just insane. Din Tai Fung in Taiwan. So it's like a chain, but amazing when I had it in Taiwan, in Taipei specifically. That was last year. Da Dong, the Peking duck place, it was in Shanghai. Probably the best meal, one of the best meals I've had. In San Diego, a couple of weeks ago, we had amazing sushi Oda in San Diego. Amazing. So those are like the three amazing meals that come to mind. High schoolers to expose themselves to medicine. Try shadowing. Try doing volunteering in a hospital. Kayla, thanks for watching. I'm glad that the videos have been helpful. Oh, another one that came up. I'm glad that I'm staying. I need to refer back to these Instagram questions too. 28, is that too late to start? No. So the question I hear from a lot of people is, hey, is it too late for me to start medicine? I'm like, how old are you? They're like, 27, 29. Some people are like 25. That is super young. I had 3 classmates who were older than 35. They were between 35 and 40 when they started medical school. And I think one of them some of them, at least 2 of them, are now either in residency or have completed residency. So it's a very personal decision. So I'm not saying that every 35-year-old should be like, yeah, I'm going to go into medicine without any second thought. Like, yeah, think about it, but make sure it's what you want to do. But at the same time, if you're 27, 28, no, it's not too old at all to go into medicine. Definitely not. Usually ironically, it's usually the very young people who ask that question about like, hey, am I too old for medical school? If you're in your 20s, absolutely not. And even in your 30s, I think it's totally fine. It's just a matter of understanding. It's a very personal decision. So there's no like age cutoff when you're too old for medicine. It's a personal decision about when are you willing to make that sacrifice, and are you okay with 4 years of not making money as an adult, right? And taking on debt. So, I have colleagues who are now in their early 40s, just starting residency, just finishing med school, and they're actually like more mature than the average 26-year-old who graduates med school. So I was 26 when I graduated, 25, 26 when I graduated med school, and like the 40-year-old is obviously more mature than I was. So that's an asset too, not just a liability. Let me just look at these Instagram questions because there were some that I wanted to make sure I answered. My roommate asked, so this is at the Jason Ho, how many dick pics do you receive per day? Thankfully, none, and I'm planning on keeping it that way. Thanks for asking the important questions, Jason. I thought I was a troll, and then I met my roommate, Jason. So, thoughts on Shane Hummus's new video featuring your channel? So, Shane Hummus is a YouTuber who had a video essentially saying, like, do not go into medicine. It's overhyped. I watched the video because a lot of you guys sent it to me. So thank you for sending, these videos to me. But I don't disagree with the sentiment that more people, like, I think too many people want to go into medicine, and medicine isn't right for all of them. But I think, well, actually, I know that a lot of what he said was factually incorrect. So I'm going to make a follow-up video to explain where the inaccuracies were, because I think that pre-meds who are watching that video won't be able to spot a lot of the factual inaccuracies. The important thing is, like, when you're trying to seek the truth, here's the thing. A lot of people go in with a predefined, it's confirmation bias. They already have a decision. They already have their belief, and then they just try to find the data and evidence to support it. So you can see it, for example, in that video. You see it like elsewhere. It's very common. So it's challenging to do, and I'm not saying that I do this every single time, but you want to go in with curiosity, with this idea of, let me learn about whatever it is that I want to learn about, and then find the truth. So when it comes to a lot of politics, like, I don't associate with any political party because I don't blindly agree to one side or the other. I need to, each individual issue, I need to research and understand before I make a decision. So I think the video, the way it came across to me, so I'm not trying to throw shade in any way, but the way the video came across to me was that he had made a decision and then was using confirmation bias to support that. And I think that if someone was being more objective, they would say that, hey guys, I think medicine is overhyped, but they would also have like more accurate data, because a lot of the data that he actually suggested was factually incorrect and misleading. Just watched your Dear Haters video. How many haters is too many haters? I don't know, man. If you got a lot of haters, then it's, I don't think haters are a bad thing. Haters sometimes will provide you a lot of insight and a lot of utility and feedback that you wouldn't normally get. So at the very beginning of Med School Insiders, you had some angry people like, oh my God, this guy is so effing boring. Or like, they would provide feedback, say it in a very like aggressive way, but I wasn't gonna be like, oh my God, these haters are, you're so mean, I'm just gonna ignore you. Like, no, I'm like, okay, what truth and value can I extract from that? So my voice is too monotone. Okay, let me try varying it a little bit. So if you look at my first ever YouTube video, I was definitely not comfortable on camera or on audio, because I never really showed my face for a while. So yeah, I worked on being more natural and talk, like the way I'm talking to you guys now is how I normally talk. And that's coming across more on the Med School Insider channel as well. So the haters, I mean, cherish the haters, because they provide little nuggets of wisdom. Whereas the people that are saying, hey, you're doing a great job, that's welcome feedback. That's supportive, and that's awesome. But they're not the ones who are going to be the first to tell you that, hey, your voice is a little bit monotone. Maybe you can try adding some energy and variation there. All right, a lot of relationship questions. We already talked about that at length. Okay, cool. I think, yeah, more math questions. We talked about that. Radiologist. All right, I love this guy. Dwind Lie F Hype on Instagram had like multiple responses about radiology being amazing. Radiology is cool, man. But I mean, maybe IR would have been interesting for me to pursue because I love the procedures. I need procedures. Some people need procedures, some people don't. But yeah, radiology, great lifestyle. My love life. Okay, we talked about relationships. Going back to residency, we talked about stock market. I gave you guys a brief overview of that. All right, we'll go for another 10 minutes. We'll cut this at 2 hours. It's a lot longer than I was expecting. I was planning on just doing 1 hour, but you guys are awesome and asking great questions. I like your voice. Thank you. I like your username. What's my Myers-Briggs? Any guesses? I don't actually believe Myers-Briggs. I have a video on personality types. I don't think it's. Someone explained this to me. They're like, Myers-Briggs is essentially astrology for college graduates, which I thought was hilarious and actually kind of accurate. Myers-Briggs is not super like reliable. It's not super valid. It's actually not really validated by science at all from what I've seen. But it is fun. It is fun to talk about the theory of it, and just the whole point of these personality tests and assessments in my mind is to just help you illuminate your blind spots. It's not about necessarily understanding your entire psyche, but I've done a lot of different personality tests, and a lot of them have taught me different things about my personality. Like for one of them, not Myers-Briggs, but a different one, was like choleric and not temperaments, I forget what this one was called, but I did a test and I got maximal like choleric score. It was based on like 4 fluids in your body, which is definitely not scientific. But the thing that I learned there is that, okay, I tend to be pretty blunt, obviously. But the thing is, like, I wasn't always aware of that growing up, and being more aware of how you come across to other people is useful. It's insightful. And we're just like not objective with ourselves. We're inherently biased, obviously, when assessing ourselves. So these personality tests are useful for illuminating certain blind spots you may have. So do you come across a certain way that you weren't aware of? Okay, why is that? Is that something you want to change? Is that something that you're okay with? Is that something that, it's not like you can just drastically change your personality type, but you can cap the downside, make your weaknesses less limiting, and then try to accentuate and emphasize your strengths. Mbti. Oh, a lot of INTJs. So I'm actually ENTJ every time I take the test. I've taken it a few times in the last couple of years. Yeah, if you are pre-med and take more than 4 years, that's fine. ENTJ. Oh, is Thomas Frank ENTJ as well? I did not know that. That's cool. My fluids are off the chart. Jeez. You guys are funny. Start my own medical school now. I'm not going to start my own medical school. I want to help people become healthier doctors, but I don't think starting med school is how I'm going to achieve that dream. Explain virtual beef with Ali Abdallah. I have no beef with Ali Abdallah. I think he makes great stuff. I do think that we have different philosophies on certain study things, but no beef. I think he makes great content. What's up, fellow pre-med neuroscience with Crohn's disease? That's like me a few years ago. That's awesome, man. Good luck. Dude, my sideburns? Yeah, man. My hair is so long. I haven't gotten a haircut I'm way overdue because of the social distancing. That's why I haven't gotten a haircut in so long. I may get to the point where I cut it myself. It's probably not going to be pretty, though. Why a Cayman? Okay, I love driving. I love cars. I love the experience of like a good, well-calibrated sports car. So they actually call the FRS, the GT86, the Super BRZ, the car that I have, the poor man's Cayman. Boxer engine, low center of gravity, handles beautifully. Cayman is like taking all that to the next level. So much faster, much more refined, much more polished, a better driving experience. So I care more about driving experience than just like raw numbers and 0 to 60. I care more about the pleasure of driving. I think that the numbers war is very silly. It's kind of ruined part of the enthusiast motorsport world where people just care about how fast your car goes 0 to 60. It's like, it's not really the point. It's just like really fun to drive. Driving a Miata, driving a FRS or BRZ is really awesome. Yeah, Cayman GT4. 911 GT3, yeah, I mean, a higher price range for sure than a Cayman. Maybe someday. Yeah, so the Cayman is mid-engine, all the other 911s. So the 911s are their flagship. So they have to kind of, the theory is that Porsche purposely limits the Caymans to not make it overshadow their bigger brother, because the Porsche is mid-engine, which has some advantages from a balanced perspective. And watch Engineering Explained. He has an awesome channel explaining all these concepts. I think he does great work. So comparing yourself, don't get into the comparison race, like with other people, the comparison game, I should say. Focus on comparing yourself to who you were yesterday. You should try to be better every day. So for me, it's like in the weight room, I've been, hitting the gym longer and harder than most people think when they look at me, because I'm not like super big and bulky. But yeah, it's like I got different cards I was dealt. And there's times when I gain muscle mass and then I have a flare and then I lose a lot of it. I'm kind of starting all over. And like for me to compare myself to other people is just a losing proposition. What benefit is there? So I just compared myself to myself. Okay, how did I do yesterday? How did I do last week? So I track my body weight. I track my percent body fat. I have a spreadsheet on my phone. I track all of my lifts, my weight, etc. Same with grades. It's like, if you are a B student, don't be comparing yourself to the A+ student. Compare yourself to, okay, how can I not be a B student? How can I be an A- student? Or at minimum, a B+ student. Things like that. Doug DeMuro. Yeah, I think Doug is hilarious and makes very cool videos on the quirky features of a car. Most impactful books. I've made videos on a lot of my favorite books that I think are relevant to you guys. So I have a playlist on the Med School Insiders channel called Book Summaries. And The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck was a fantastic book that I really enjoyed. It's kind of like an introductory book to philosophy almost. But if you watch that book summary, you'll kind of get a feel for the video, and then you can decide if you want to read the whole thing. How's my bench? Way too light. I am benching at least my body weight now, which I'm happy about. That wasn't the case for some time. So I can rep my body weight. Are we allowed to give hugs? Yeah, I love hugs. Well, actually, not hugs right now. We're doing social distancing. But after social distancing and the scare of COVID-19, then yeah, hugs are great. Is it bad to go to medical school if you hate math? I think the right question to ask here is less of should you go to medical school if you hate math, but why do you hate math? I think math can be, usually we hate things if we're not good at them. And rather than just accepting that, oh, I'm not good at math and I hate math, be like, hey, I'm going to love math. I'm going to make math my B. Like me and math are going to love each other after I do X amount of work. So focus on getting better at math. Don't focus on whether or not you should do med school if you don't like math. But yeah, in cardiology, for example, there is a lot of like physics involved. So take care of it now. Virtual beef with Dr. Mike? No, I'm not aware of any virtual beef with Dr. Mike. My ethnicity. What are Kevin's quirks and features? Dr. Murrow. Oh, it's too good. I have too many quirks. So many quirks. Yeah. I've been to other Asian countries. I've been to, last year we did Taipei and Taiwan, Manila, Philippines, Saigon in Vietnam, Shanghai, China, Hong Kong, China. So 5 cities, 6 weeks. And I've done South Africa in Africa. Haven't been other places in Africa. I love traveling. I think traveling is amazing. My Mcat score was a 40, which is the equivalent of a 524 or 525 looking at the current scale. So 99.9th percentile. Well, the score report says 100th percentile, which a lot of these, statistically illiterate people like to say, but there's no such thing as 100th percentile. So even though my score report says 100th percentile, I round it down and I say 99.9th. Do I watch? I don't really watch a lot of other med YouTubers because I'm like already in medicine, and usually the med YouTubers are targeting like pre-meds and med students and stuff. So no, I don't really watch that many med YouTubers. I tend to watch a lot of car videos, and I've been getting more into investing videos recently. Am I scared of germs? I'm not a massive germaphobe, but like I do believe in the hygiene hypothesis, which states that humans over the years, by becoming too sanitary and too clean, actually have more autoimmune diseases such as IBD, Crohn's disease. So I don't think that like it's useful to be super sterile and like, get rid of all germs. But there are certain times, like right now with COVID-19, where I'm definitely taking a lot of precautions. By the way, none of that is medical advice. Speak to your physician. Yeah, if you're flat-footed, you can still become a surgeon. You just need to get better shoes for the OR that fit you. Have I always been a straight A student? Um, yeah, I have some hesitancy answering that question because I don't want people to think that just because if they're not a straight A student, they cannot become a straight A student. So yes, I was always a straight A student since, I don't know, like first grade. So yeah, if you're not a straight A student, that doesn't mean that you can't change that. I don't have favorite YouTube channels for investing. I kind of just watch a lot of videos. I think Ray Dalio is amazing. I think he does have a YouTube channel, or his like team has a YouTube channel for him. I think Warren Buffett is obviously like GOAT. GOAT is greatest of all time. I feel like someone's gonna hear that and be like, he's calling Warren Buffett a GOAT. That's a compliment. Yeah, if you have a lower GPA first year, so med students, or sorry, medical schools, they are definitely, they look favorably upon a upward trend in your GPA. So if you start with lower GPA, but then you're crushing and hitting those 3 9s, 4 O's every quarter after that, yeah, you can definitely get into an allopathic school without a doubt. Yep, it is an E30 M3 behind me, right above my bed. iPhone 6 in my old videos. Tevin. I have never met someone named Tevin. That's a cool name. Nice to meet you. Yeah, now I use a Sony a6400, but when the new Sony Alpha camera comes out, which is probably going to be the A7S3 or the A7 IV, I will definitely buy that to upgrade further. Problem solving skills comes down to a lot of practice and understand, not just practice, but also proper review of your wrong question. So when you get something wrong, people are like, oh no, I got it wrong. What was the right answer? That's not how you should be focusing on your learning. You should be focusing on, why did I get it wrong? Where was the break in my understanding or my logic? And then you'll never make that mistake again if you do it properly. KM asks, what am I doing to pass the time? These days, so with the social distancing, I'm spending a lot of time learning. So I'm watching online courses. I am learning about PCs and building a custom PC. I'm reading a lot about sim racing to get the right equipment and figure out what to do. I'm learning more about investing. So I'm reading up on investing because I think right now with the markets going down, there's going to be more investing opportunities. So I want to be able to take advantage of those. Girlfriend updates. Still single. But yeah, they didn't change in the last 60 minutes when I mentioned that last. Yeah, medical research as an undergrad can be very, very powerful. Linus Tech Tips. Yeah, I think he's hilarious. I love that channel. If I need to watch computer stuff, which admittedly I don't really do very often, but he's hilarious. Am I into Teslas? Okay, Teslas. I've driven Teslas. I think Teslas are the future. I love Elon Musk. I love what Tesla is doing. However, as a car enthusiast, Teslas are you can kind of see the philosophy of a car company and how it is reflected in their car. So Porsche, right? They're about like beautiful engineering and they're kind of understated. If you see a Ferrari or a Lambo versus a Porsche, the Porsche is not nearly as attention grabbing. So their philosophy and their personality of the Germans, it kind of comes through. If you look at, Fisker Karma. Fisker Karma was a electric hybrid vehicle that essentially wasn't successful. It got acquired by a Chinese company, but it was all about design. So beautiful looking car, but as an actual car, wasn't that great. If you look at Tesla, it's like Silicon Valley tech, kind of nerdy, kind of inspired. So is it an amazing car? Is it safe? Is it practical? Like, does it meet all the requirements? Absolutely. Fantastic vehicles. But then what do you lose out on? So these guys aren't the same way like car enthusiasts as a Porsche engineer would be. So for that reason, the actual feel and drive and experience of driving a Tesla versus a sports car that is tuned for driving enjoyment, like the steering feel, the sounds, all that stuff, suspension, it's a little bit different. So Tesla is like a great everyday, daily driver, comfortable car, but I wouldn't put it in the same category for like driving enjoyment, at least based on, driving. I drove a Model 3 and a Model S. Haven't driven a Model X, but I doubt the SUV is going to be more enjoyable to drive. I wouldn't put that in the same category as a sports car. The Roadster, who knows? I think the Roadster is going to be pretty badass, especially if they can make it fun. Do med schools look down on community colleges? Yeah, so you want to be taking your pre-med, your prereqs at accredited university, four-year universities when possible. Do I use Tinder or online dating? Yes, I do use online dating. I do use, yeah, I'm not going to talk about the exact apps I use. Don't try to find me. Does Med School Insiders offer a formal how to study online video program? Not yet, but that's something that I'm definitely considering, like maybe a course on A to Z, how to study, make it super high production quality, make it super thorough, like the one stop. Like I try to make all the videos and all the information for free on the YouTube channel. But okay, how can I take it to the next level and make things as structured and organized and easy to comprehend and accelerate one's performance as possible? Definitely something I'm considering. Thoughts on going into medical ethics? I don't really have that many, like I'm not an expert on medical ethics, so I can't really comment. I think it's a very interesting area of medicine for sure. Like there's a lot of ethical questions when it comes to transplants, when it comes to other areas of medicine, pediatrics, so. This man's Tinder gonna be lit. No comment. Yeah, okay, so mindset on special. So if you're a pre-med right now, you're like, oh, I want to be an orthopedic surgeon so bad. Understand that over 50%, the majority of medical students who think they know their specialty day one will change their mind. I was like, 100%, I'm becoming a gastroenterologist. I'm going to be the world's best gastroenterologist. And then I mashed into plastic surgery because people, like, when they hear that, somebody's like, oh, you were just following the money. No, dude. Like, the average gastroenterologist actually makes more money than the average reconstructive plastic surgeon. So like the money wasn't part of the equation, just what inspired me. And gastroenterology, I think it's a cool specialty. Like the people are like, oh, if you want to deal with poop, and yeah, like the poop and stuff doesn't really bother me. I'm not easily grossed out, but the procedures were what got to me because our scopes tough, yeah, but they're kind of the same procedure again and again, and it's kind of monotonous. And they're not like, are they technically challenging? Yes. Are they as technically challenging as plastic surgery? No way in hell. So I really found a lot of appeal to something that was surgical because I realized I love working with my hands, and plastic surgery was just such a good fit for me. So I changed my mind. So if you think you know your specialty, understand that very likely it's probably going to change. Am I considering making an app for medicine? Yeah, so Memm is going to be our first app. It's going to be more for studying, starting with the Mcat, and then we're going to branch out to other topics as well. But in terms of clinical medicine, no, I don't have any plans on making an app there right now. Do I like oatmeal? I like oatmeal with fruit. If oatmeal is like oatmeal on its own, I try to avoid sugar, so I don't really put brown sugar, but I'll put some like blueberries, some granola. Actually, no, not granola, because granola is usually overly sweet. Walnuts is what I meant to say. So yeah, I think that makes oatmeal pretty tasty. There's cash in the poop. That's right, my man. GI, there's a lot of cash in there. How often do I consume meat? I'm usually eating meat every day now. I haven't noticed any negative effects, and I've been tracking my ESR, CRP. I need to make a follow-up video on diet. But yeah, based on the current evidence, so I try not to have a conclusion and then try to find supporting evidence. That's called confirmation bias. So a lot of people who are either pro-vegan or anti-vegan, like, oh, I know the answers. Like, dude, based on the current evidence, there's actually, you can't say one. Yeah, you cannot say that one is, oh, but I saw the China study. Oh, but like, there's limitations there. And the people, here's the thing. Okay, this is probably going to be one of the more important things I say on this live stream. True experts speak to the nuance, speak to the gray area. Amateurs or people who are not experts, who don't have proper understanding, speak in black and white. That's for most things in life. Now, vaccines are a different story, but when it comes to diet, when it comes to like the Caribbean medical school videos that I made recently, nuance is key. So people that say, oh, going Caribbean is terrible and you should never do it. No, there are some people that should go Caribbean once they've already exhausted their other options. People that say like, oh, the Caribbean is totally fine. How dare you say anything bad about it? There's obviously massive limitations and downsides to going Caribbean. So again, experts talk to the nuance, to the gray area. The people that don't know what they're talking about tend to talk in black and white on average. Tour of my room. My room is super messy right now. I'm going to do a whole apartment tour in the coming weeks or coming months because I do really like my apartment. But right now, yeah, I got boxes. I got my PC, empty boxes for all the PC components. It's a mess. No, I'm not vegan. I was doing a plant-based diet for a few years back in med school as an experiment because, again, the research is shaky, but I figured let me experiment with this to see if it helps me control my IBD. So I thought it helped me control my IBD initially, but then I realized it was because I cut out dairy. So now I still avoid dairy and I've reintroduced meat and I'm still very stable. So going plant-based did not help me with IBD. Yeah, I'm not talking about the like environmental or ethical impact of that. Like if you have an ethical issue with veganism or eating animals and stuff, that's fine. That's just not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about purely the health benefits. Let's go for 3 hours. Oh my God, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. I keep saying I'm going to end it soon, but there's so many good questions. How did I deal with all the people that came at me for SGU videos? Actually, like I got a lot of messages after that, and most of them, the overwhelming majority, were like, "Hey, I'm an SGU student. I agree with everything you say. We're just afraid to say it because social, we don't want to be punished." And yeah, I think most of them were very supportive. Here's the thing, man. This is not my first rodeo with like getting haters on videos, people that disagree vehemently and are trying to like make it personal. So that doesn't really bother me. I just care about you guys, and I just want to offer value and help. So after those videos, like I'm done talking about Caribbean schools for a while. My job isn't to convince people that I'm right. It's like, hey, here are the facts. These are the facts. Like, cool, you have an opinion. You're really emotionally charged. That's fine. Consider this. Consider that maybe you're emotionally charged because of these reasons. And maybe I do care about you and I want you to be successful, but it's not about, emotions and right or wrong. It's like, hey, these are the facts. I need to be honest with premeds. So are there still angry people after that second video? Yeah, sure. But that's like, there's always going to be angry people to any video. So I don't have any pets. No. Facts don't care about your feelings. That's what's up. I'm thankful you guys are staying long as well. It must be, I don't know what it's like to watch a live stream for this long. It's fun for me to do it. So I'm glad that you guys are still here. Thank you. No, residencies do not care about your Mcat score. Do not. Yeah, that's definitely not part of the equation. How to make social distancing better for people? I think a lot of it comes down to how you. So right now, I am realizing how much I enjoy hanging out with people and things that I do in my day. Like even going to the gym is a nice welcome break in my day. So I am finding that adding more structure to my day is helping me out. So if I'm just always in my room and in the living room and I'm not going out and doing stuff, then there's like less. It's easy to kind of fall into like a rut. So I'm practicing more structure. Yes, I will do a day in the life of an entrepreneur. Thoughts on NoFap? Oh man, we're getting really personal. I was doing NoFap pretty hardcore in med school. I thought it was helpful for discipline reasons. I felt more energized when I was on it, especially when I was sleep deprived. It helped me. Yeah, I remember like there were times when, yeah, even with my girlfriend, I was like trying to abstain. So she initially wasn't very happy about that. So yeah, I think it's not going to harm you. I don't think. Speak to your physician. I always have to add that disclaimer. Speak to your physician. But I think it's relatively low risk, and there is upside to just like learning about yourself and learning about discipline and learning about there's a lot of things. So I actually am. I think porn is bad. So if there's one thing that the young guys get from this video, don't watch porn. It's bad for you. Do I miss the OR? Yes. There are two things that I miss about plastic surgery residency to this day. Number one is operating. So again, everyone's residency experience is gonna vary. I was fortunate. Day one, I had a scalpel in my hand. I was doing a Dupuytren's hand contracture release. And the thing in residency is that you will be able to do more if you prove yourself. So I was obsessive about practicing my knot tying, obsessive about practicing my suturing, obsessive about getting improving my left hand dexterity. To this day, I still brush my teeth with my left hand for improving my dexterity. I'm not ambidextrous, I'm right hand dominant. So yeah, I think it was month 6 in November of residency. So not even month 6, month 5 of my residency, I was doing half of a blepharoplasty, and it's like an eyelid procedure. And yeah, I love getting to that flow state, like having that challenge. Whether it's entrepreneurship or in the operating room, working on something that's finely detailed. I love that rush that's why I love working with my hands. So what I noticed is that when I was a med student, I would get that rush when I would suture. I would practice my knot ties and suture, and I love the technical challenge and getting better. It's like driving stick, trying to get better each and every time, smoother, faster, more precise, more perfect. And the other thing I noticed though was that suturing, I mean, I got pretty, not to toot my own horn, I got pretty good at it, and it was like second nature to me. So it wasn't as exciting. And normally they're like, hey, do you want to close this case? Normally I'd be like, fuck yes, I got this closure. Don't worry about a thing. And after, I've been suturing for 2 years in med school and then suturing in residency, I wasn't like, no, I was still like, absolutely, I'll of course suture, I'll do the closure, but I wasn't as excited and as like invigorated. But I got that rush again when I was doing this blepharoplasty. So the thing that I realized about operating is that, for me at least, that excitement was probably maybe after 10, 20, 30, 40 blepharoplasties, I would probably be less excited about it. But then you have microsurgery, and microsurgery is even more technically challenging. But then at some point, I mean, you kind of run out of things. So I do miss operating, but that was one thing that I was like, I'm not sure I'm a fan of like the procedures getting more routine. I love that excitement. The other thing I miss about surgery were the personalities. So obviously, I think it's pretty apparent. A lot of people have told me this. Yeah, I have a surgeon's personality. I'm blunt. I don't like being PC. I like being raw, direct, like sometimes rough around the edges. That doesn't mean I want to be mean. I always try to be, like, with my friends and people I care about, I always try to be extra, extra, extra compassionate and kind. But when it comes to joking, I think it's totally fine to joke about a lot of things that if I were to joke about, then you can get some pushback. But in the OR and in the operating room, like, people don't care. Like, you can blast music that's dropping the F-bomb here and there. I remember I was DJing one day in the OR, and I had like Dr. Dre 2001, and then the chair of our program walks in, and I was like, oh shit. But then he's like, no, Kevin, like, it's cool. So it's totally chill. And then you're making jokes that aren't PC. Life is too short to take yourself so seriously. People just How old did neuroscience? Neuroscience made me a beast on. So there were only a couple in med school. There were a couple courses where I set the curve. I was number one. Cardiology was one of them, and neurology/psychiatry was another one. And I think a big part of me setting the curve and being a beast it's called MBB, mind brain behavior, which is like the neuro block at our med school, was because of neuroscience. I love neuroscience. I took it very seriously. I learned a lot from there, and I took that into med school. Other courses that I set the curve in, no, I don't remember all of them off the top of my head, but I remember those two stuck out because I love those courses so much. I did well there. I do have some suturing videos. If you go on my website and search how to suture, they're like some of the earliest videos I made were on I guess they were not tying, not suturing. Were they suturing? I don't remember. It's been so long. Okay, DJing in the OR. Okay, the only reason I was DJing in the OR was because it was a bunch of us residents in the OR. Like, if there's an attending, you do not DJ as a resident, like, unless the attending tells you, hey, pick a song. And sometimes they will actually, it's called pimping, when they ask you questions. They'll like pimp you on anatomy and stuff during the case. So there's this huge issue with burnout, depression, and suicide that I care a lot about. I think that there are some toxic things about residency training, obviously, which are contributing to that. But I don't think that necessarily being like pimping and stuff in the OR is part of that. I think a lot of it is cheap labor, is these residents having ridiculous hours, terrible pay for what the amount of work and effort that they're putting in compared to, there's this whole political argument that's crashing down on Reddit right now about mid-levels versus resident training. Anyways, yeah, I think the OR is a very fun place to be. It can be scary if you don't know your stuff. Know your stuff. I think, yeah, good times in the OR. Was I a gunner? I very much believe I very much care about doing right and wrong. I think morality and doing what I like. There are certain things that I will never do because I feel that they are wrong. Like no judgments, but actually, I'm not going to go there. There are certain things that I think are right and wrong. I think cheating, for example, I will go there. I think cheating is wrong in a relationship. I think cheating is just something that you should never do. If you want to cheat, then you should probably end the relationship. So wait, what was the question again? Was I a gunner? So doing right and wrong, I would never, ever bring another student down. Why bring someone else down to prop myself up? Why not learn from them and then be better? Both, like, they can be as good as they are, or I can even help them come up, and I can also improve myself at the same time. Don't ever bring other people down, other students. There was one student at UCLA who like gave me the wrong information on purpose. I still got an A+ in the class, but it was like, why do you do that, man? And I think that he didn't even get into med school. He was like applying years later. Toilet paper, so funny. Okay, my thoughts on the toilet paper craze. Get a bidet. Hashtag bidet gang. How much toilet paper do I have right now? A few rolls, but again, bidet. So not too worried about it. Snitching in med school. Yeah, that's like that's too difficult to talk about in like without concretes. Do I drink? I don't really drink very often. I drink maybe, I'd say on average, like 1 drink every 2 months, if that. I just feel like healthier and better if I don't drink. And I think drinking is sometimes fun, but you can have fun in social gatherings without drinking. It's just about your mindset. If you believe you can have fun and you want to just be a fun, loose, goofy person, then do that. I think drinking for a lot of us, it reduces our social inhibition so that we can be less anxious about, oh, what are people going to think? Dude, just don't give a fuck in the first place. And then you don't care what people think, and then you have a good time. That's my philosophy when it comes to going out and having a good time. I am not religious. Oh yeah, that was another question that came up on Instagram too. I'm not religious. No judgment if you are. It's just not for me. I actually like I like Sam Harris a lot, and the way he talks about spirituality is aligned with what I believe in spirituality. Coffee or tea? I sometimes drink tea. I don't do coffee, too much caffeine. Tea because it's tasty. My roommate makes really good green tea. Was I ever bullied? No, I was never bullied. I had some funny stories. I'm not going to go there right now. That's for another live stream. Being LGBTQ in med school, I went to a school that was very like supportive and accepting of all that stuff. And there was clubs. I think a lot of California programs are like that are very supportive, where it shouldn't be an issue. I personally have not seen any discrimination. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm saying in my program, I never saw any discrimination or heard any stories of discrimination or any issues. I think medicine, for the most part, is pretty accepting. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. No, I'm not. I'm getting a lot of questions about whether or not I'm homosexual. I'm not homosexual. Yeah, Sam Harris. Great book, by the way. Waking Up is a fantastic book. I love that book. I'm still live. Yeah, man. I'm getting tired and hungry. I got to call this at, all right, 2 hours, 30 minutes. Got to call it. No, Loma Linda was not super religious. Nothing was like, residents were drinking coffee. Not really a problem for most people. What shows am I currently watching? I love Top Gear and The Grand Tour, so I've already caught up on those. I'm really bad about watching TV shows. I like watch one episode and forget about it. I watched one episode of what's that one? Game of Thrones, and then I like stopped. This was years ago. I watched the first episode of Succession, the first episode of Billions. I should keep watching them. I think they're good shows. I just have other stuff to do. I watched Suits. I finished all 7, 8, 9 seasons, however many there were. When am I coming to New York? I love New York. I want to come back, but because of the travel stuff, I'm not leaving. Yeah, loose leaf tea. Jordan B. Peterson. I don't agree with everything Jordan B. Peterson says, but I do think he is very effective at communicating and communicating his ideas. So I'm reading one of his books called 12 Principles. Yeah, Day in the Life of Emergency Medicine will definitely be coming, but I'm not doing any of the Day in the Life videos until the coronavirus social distancing issue is no longer here, which could be a while. 38-year-old architect. No, it's not too late, man. It's a very personal decision. You have to weigh the pros and cons and what you're getting into. Car poster is an E30, Lexus LFA, the best, one of the best sounding cars of all time. Lexus LFA is super awesome. Texas, yeah. I mean, Houston, I think is cool. I was there for some time doing some away rotations. Harvey or Mike? Oh, they're both so cool. I think Harvey. I think Harvey's badass. I like Harvey. What's the best med school? UC San Diego is the best med school in my eyes. I love that place. It was my number one. I was so excited to go there. Even if they didn't give me scholarship, I would have gone. Like amazing school, amazing program, amazing people, amazing surroundings, amazing city. Just I'll probably move to San Diego at some point. Do I watch anime? The one anime I watched was Initial D, but nothing really since. Can MSI help you with board exams? Yes, MSI can definitely help with board exams. We have a team of tutors that didn't just score phenomenally well, but they're also phenomenal teachers, and we are very rigorous. We take this stuff very seriously. As you guys can tell, I get pretty hardcore about things that I care about. So we're very, very selective. A lot of people that don't make the cut for us, you may find them working someplace else on another competitor's website. So yeah, we're trying to establish ourselves. I think we are successfully actually establishing ourselves as the cream of the crop, the best of the best. This is the place you want to go if you need help. UC, yeah, I'm born and raised in California, Bay Area, but then once I turned 17, I moved down to UCLA for college, and I was in SoCal for med school, for college, for residency. Favorite song? Check out my Spotify study playlist because I have a lot of songs that I love over there. DC or Marvel? I couldn't even tell you which superheroes are in which. Like I love watching superhero movies. I think they're super entertaining, but I never was big into comics, and I don't really know that much about the different superheroes. I think Batman, I think he's badass. The reason I think Batman is the coolest is because he's a normal, like he doesn't have superpowers, but he's like brave and he uses technology. I think Batman's badass. Oh, overcoming public speaking anxiety. I talked about it in a previous video. It comes down to practice and talking about something you're excited about. So when I was presenting Blue Link, I remember things just clicked. I was presenting Blue Link to Janet Napolitano, president of the UC system, when she was visiting UC San Diego. Like Blue Link was like this really big, growing, exciting thing. And it was this group of like, deans and chairs. And then there's like a couple students, me and my team. And we felt kind of out of place. But I was up there talking about this thing that I had created that I was so passionate about and loved so much. And I was like, I love public speaking. That was, not that I pretty much didn't like public speaking until that day. I feel like that was the day when it just clicked, and I was like, this is so cool. Apple or Windows? I personally use Apple. I haven't used Windows in several years. Am I scared for the environment? Yeah, I think climate change is going to be one of the biggest issues of the next 100 years, the century. Single Pringle. All right, guys, we got 90 seconds, and then I got to go eat. Should people envy doctors? No, I don't. I think people should appreciate. I think a lot of doctors go in for the right reasons, and they really want to help people. I don't think that should cause envy. That should be like, hey, appreciate what they do, especially in this time with COVID-19. They're risking themselves a lot. They're on the front lines. Same with a lot of these, EMTs and nurses and other healthcare professionals. So kudos to all those guys. I am not on the front lines. I'm, no longer clinical. So. All right. We got 60 seconds. We're at 2:29. I'm going to call it at 2:30. Favorite sports team? I do not watch sports. The one thing that I do watch is Formula One racing and Team LH, Lewis Hamilton, Mercedes. Thank you guys for watching. This says unpopular opinion. I have many unpopular opinions. That'd be too much to cover in the next 30 seconds. Guys, thank you all so much for watching. Oh, gap year between M2 and M3. Yeah, totally possible. Most students take gap year between M3 and M4, but talk to your school. I saw that question come up again prior, so I wanted to address that. Thanks, guys, for watching. Again, thank you all so much for subscribing and for supporting me and allowing me to do what I do. It really means a lot, and I hope this live session was helpful. If you guys like it, maybe I'll do another live session. I don't know. We'll see how this with the responses to this video. This was a lot longer than I expected. I was expecting 1 hour, so the future ones won't be this long. I'll generally keep it, 60 minutes or so. But thanks, guys, and much love to you all. See you in the next one.